All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. We are live. I think we're going to call this Hustlers Week on the Rev and Sam pod because the hip hop world is going to keep us busy. We got all the news over the weekend about all the albums dropping. We got, just to clear up the schedule, we got Tyler tomorrow. We've got Metro Boomin on Tuesday. We've got Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist returning with Alfredo 2 on Friday. So it's going to be a busy week. We're going to be locked in. We're going to be live. Reacting to everything for sure. So we'll be off the little bit of the usual schedule tomorrow night, reacting to the new Tyler album. And yeah, we'll be here, like I said, the rest of the week, reacting to the rest of the stuff as well too. But it felt like the perfect right time to kick it in. Just everything aligned perfectly for us to kick off the week with the movie about, one of the top-notch hustlers of them all. Chet, hey, yo, shout out. In the spirit of our man DJ, we're going to try to be hustling here this week to keep up. And also another thing that just perfectly aligns, we're in the midst of the end of Summer League. I mean, this is the real degenerate day for Summer League. This is Hustler Week, Degenerate Week. I don't know what we call it, either one. But this day specifically for the NBA Summer League, maybe the worst day of them all. I get it's championship day, and I get that the teams are, fighting for that last bit of pride over the Summer League tournament. But it does feel like at this point, it's like, okay, it's probably gone on too long. There's no star players playing. It never feels like the most interesting teams are at the top. But shout out to Charlotte. Charlotte is playing a little bit later in the championship game, so they're gonna keep us locked in. Chat, we gotta be locked into the Charlotte Summer League minutes. I think so. They would have been one of the first draft picks for teams that we like watching. I guess I'm not even certain at this point if the guys themselves are playing that we would, the entertainment value would be there for us for Charlotte. There is Knuppel still there, and Liam McNeely and Saloon. I don't even know if Saloon's been playing in Summer League. I'm just assuming that he has, and I'm assuming that's why they've earned the championship as well too, as all those guys have been there. But Sacramento, shout out as well too. I guess is the one time maybe they'll get a Commissioner's Cup though. You never know. That'll be the real test of pride for the Commissioner's Cup at some point. Will be if one of those type of franchises wins it. Shout out. But you think even Milwaukee did win it this past year, right? I think we're getting that right. LA, they haven't necessarily been. I mean, they got a title within the past handful of years with LeBron and Davis and those guys. It was a bubble title, so obviously it's a little weird for the fan base. But they were never necessarily a team that went into every season as like the number one ranked power ranked team. Even this year, like we've said in the past, I wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers and what do you know? Luka, hot take. Would it be surprising if Luka Doncic in the Western Conference Finals this year? Like, okay, probably not the most surprising thing in the world that would happen. Obviously, he's the best player in the Lakers now, but yeah, again, the idea of them just walking into the season year after year as like that trusted number one competitor hasn't necessarily always been the thing that's necessarily been there for them. But they're mid-tier in that, I guess, a little closer to mid-tier in that way. But the mid-tier sort of actual market size team and the actual, because Milwaukee is you would consider obviously a mid-market team. Even San Antonio, we'd consider them a mid-market team as well too. But San Antonio, Milwaukee, and Milwaukee especially with Giannis, have had a little bit of different expectations. Where that is a team, again, with the players that they've had, you walk in the Eastern Conference, you're like, okay, maybe there is a little bit more title expectations there. They may be a little closer in tiers year to years for the Lakers as well too. And again, the Spurs have had their years where they've entered the regular season as the number one team as well too. But a team that doesn't necessarily have those kind of a team, I guess, the way to put it simply, an overachieving team. That'll be the real test for the in-season tournament, is when an overachieving team wins the in-season tournament, and then they're not excited about it. It's like, oh man, the in-season tournament. Who knows if this thing is actually working? But for a couple years, if at worst case scenario, it'll always be fun to look back and remember. Hey, remember when the NBA had an in-season tournament? I'm just glad that because. You hear things about I feel like for the most part the NBA has been kind of the same since guys our age range, ladies as well too, people our age range, watching the NBA the last in the 21st century. It hasn't necessarily changed too much. There has been some relocations and stuff for sure. I think probably losing the Seattle franchise is the most dramatic one, and then that of course becoming OKC, and now OKC has become kind of a force in their own right, obviously. But, just the way that and, it's a good thing, too, that we got the NBA kind of pre-shaped and at the peak of its powers. And, well, I guess, maybe you could say that MJ years is the peak of his powers. But, again, you get sort of the fully formed NBA by the time that we're watching NBA and by the time that we're consciously, consuming the sport. But it is kind of fun to go back and be like, oh, wait a second, there was like a second league that was competitive there for a second. Oh, wait, they added in a whole new way to score. Because, like, the three-point line, like, we haven't even had anything that revolutionary just in general. And, again, that's goes a little bit back at this point. We're talking 50-plus years almost. But, just like you would think about adding a 4-point line as almost a little bit of a minor tweak, and maybe it is minor compared to the addition of a 3-point line. I don't know how the math works out for that, but just even something that crazy being installed in the league hasn't necessarily taken into effect so much. So just adding in a whole new tournament and a whole new trophy, even again if it's not necessarily a great idea, I just like the fact that we get to live in a time when the league is experimenting. The play-in as well too, mixing it up with that. Those play-in stats, the fact that they don't include those stats in history, is that like hey, do we know what the long-term sort of, you imagine that even the revenue of a couple of games are not the same. They won't even reduce the schedule at this point. And I guess if you reduce this, maybe you add a couple more play-in games and then you can reduce the schedule. I don't know if they're, a long-term way to make that work as well too. But I guess we were saying the real test is if like a team like Sacramento, the Summer League Championship probably not going to necessarily satisfy the fan base too much, but an in-season tournament thing, it may be like okay, are we starting to what would be a bigger high point for the Kings fans? Would it be the playoff run they just had with De'Aaron Fox and those guys, and the first time that they actually the first time they made the playoffs in like 16 plus years? Because they did, they were, I guess if we were just going this century, the competitive, because they did and probably should have won the finals. Well, I guess, we're just saying what other people say. We can't necessarily say that we were locked in and watching those games that young, but they had a really competitive, and just the fact that also the Spurs were the Spurs bad that year, and also again just Shaq and Kobe. It's not necessarily the craziest thing in the history to be like, okay, maybe there was a little bit of help, but also Shaq and Kobe won a series is not. It makes sense looking back, but if we're going 21st century, that era would have probably been the best version of Kings basketball. But in the last 15 years since then, anyways, of course, would it be, I mean, it is this playoff run, but if you won the play-in game, would that be better than making the playoffs? Just making the playoffs? Like what? Yeah, because that would be a good test. What is the level? Because it's obviously not winning a title. And these two teams now that have won the in-season tournament have both won. And I guess, again, Milwaukee, they're not just a competitive team. They're a team that has actually won a title recently. So the fan base that gets to have the, experience of winning a in-season tournament also just experiencing title as well too. Or maybe not, because they got more bandwagon fans after winning the title. I don't know how that works as well too. But just the level of experience, I guess, for the newness of it. Like what is it for what is the level of experience for the in-season tournament? What's the NBA corollary? We're asking, what round of the playoffs is it? Like if the Knicks won the in-season tournament, they just got to the conference finals, so there was a little bit of the finals were right there. Can we get back in that mix? And again, they kind of were just not kind of just in the finals, but again, if we're going just the broad 21st century, right at the turn of the century, they were making the list there a little bit. But I don't think it's quite a conference championship either. I think a conference championship is kind of the thing is, it's like kind of disappointing, obviously, to make a conference championship and be the loser of a conference championship run. In some cases, again, it all really depends. But if you're that competitive level, if you're that championship level team, again, a team like the Knicks, you had Tom Thibodeau. Poor Tom Thibodeau just gets fired, makes conference finals. It does sting a little bit getting that close, and obviously losing the finals as well too stings even more. for sure. But we'll need to find out what's the level in season tournament. So hey, because San Antonio, we're going on a decade here. It's a decade drought. I guess last year would have been the decade season, right? Because I guess 14-15 would have been the first season that we didn't win the title. That would have been that Warriors title. So because we won the title in June of 14. So it was that 13-14 season. I always think of it as a 14 title. But yeah, that would have been for the 13 start of the year. So that would have been the 23-24 season, 10 seasons after that. I guess it depends on how you count as well too. But regardless, we're in the decade sort of run for championship. So the other fan bases, DM us at Remington Pod to complain and be like, oh, 10 years is compared to whatever. Oh, we've never won a title. Hey, yo. But yeah, it's starting to get a little bit up there. For sure, you start getting into the double digits, and I feel like you start having a decent room to complain like the other ones. Again, we're not necessarily complaining about. It's more about and it's not even necessarily complaining as well too, because if you think about the upside, I guess that has to be factored into it as well too. The players that we have, like, yes, we may not have won a title in the last 10 years or so, but we also are set up very well where a lot of franchises be like, yeah, we haven't won titles in longer, and we're not going to be in a spot to necessarily fix that. Our Wizards fans going to get upset in the chat at this point. But sorry, Wizards fans, it is what it is. But, your team's looking not too bad at this point. I don't know if you quite have a Wembanyama, but again, Wembanyama just got cleared for basketball, return for basketball activities, and there hasn't been any clips of return to basketball activities yet. So are all your players cleared for basketball activities? I don't think the Wizards have necessarily been the healthiest team in the league over the last couple of years, but still, they don't know if they have. I mean, you have a player with that stakes. I guess they don't have a player with that or that injury stuff going on either way. But yeah, regardless, shout out to the in-season tournament. Just a little summer in-season tournament update is all to start you off with, and we do need to do a little summer league update as well too, because like we said, it is in the last night here. So yeah, again, shout out to Memphis as well too for playing. I don't think our guy GG Jackson is checked in. I don't know if he was even playing in summer league at all, to be honest. In the Clippers, they have Cam Christie. Shout out his brother Max Christie, of course. Former Lakers player, part of the Luka Doncic trade. The Mavs didn't just get Anthony Davis back in that trade. They also got Max Christie as well too. Let's not forget. But I thought for a second that Cam Christie was Max Christie. So I was like, wait a second, why is Max Christie on the Clippers summer league team? I was like, Nico Harrison's totally lost it, but no, it's just Cam Christie. It's fine. And I guess he is 0 for 1 today. Kobe Sanders was their sneaky first round pick last year. I think, end of the first round, like the third, maybe he was like the 31st pick in last year's draft. But in that range where it's like, okay, you could get, he could be your 7th man for sure at that spot in the draft. And also Flowers. I think Flowers was maybe, it's not going to have him listed here. I think he might be a little bit, he might have slid in the draft a little bit. Let me see here. 2-way contract. Did he even get drafted, or was he a signee as well too? Here, let's see on his page. Basketball Reference, if it has a draft spot for him. But he had some high school pedigree, I think, as well too. Yeah, top 25, number 23 overall recruit in 2023. And yeah, I guess did not get drafted. Signed as a 2-way guy with LA. So, and yeah, he was with LA last year. I guess 6 games played. How many minutes? 27 minutes. Shout out to our guy, Trent Flowers. 4 for 11 from the field in 27 minutes. What's that per 36? 14 points a game. There we go. Not necessarily the most on 14.7 points on 14.7 shots. I don't know if that's the math that. Yeah, I think the Clippers are kind of an analytics team, so I don't know if they're hopefully not digging too much into the Trent Flower analytics, but maybe they see the potential as well too. Maybe they look at the spots on the floor. I don't know. Ooh, look at that impressive G League performance. 34, 6 threes. I got some Flowers stock, I think. Hey, well, I don't know if you have to pause that, but again, anytime you can take a swing on somebody with some pedigree. Yeah, 6'7", kind of. They have him listed as a small forward, but in 2025, that's a little bit more, two guardish almost. Maybe he's not with the point guard skills. Maybe he's not going to be a 1-2. Yeah, maybe more, of course, a 2-3, but maybe more in that guard role. And I guess doesn't really take threes as well too, or make him necessarily 0 for 2. But he was in the G League though. 6 3-pointers made in this game. I guess not necessarily. Maybe offense, not the strength. The scoring, anyways, bucket making. But regardless, it doesn't seem like the worst swing in the world. So we'll see how he is playing tonight as well too. Oh, speaking of which, we got a little Trenton Flowers Cam Christie dribble handoff into a 3. Yeah, the Clippers are. So there we go. Cam Christie with his first bucket of the night so far. Is that moving 1 for 2? Wait a second. Was that Miller? Oh, maybe that was Jordan Miller. I don't know. But whoops, IT, cut that out. But and Pat Baldwin. So yeah, this Clippers Summer League team is stacked. I don't think that it says it's a consolation game, but I think it's just a consolation game for the Clippers because the Grizzlies, it says they're 1-3 in the Summer League. So can the Grizzlies just steal like third place, or is let's track down what's going on in the NBA Summer League for the consolation. Is it just the winner of this game? Oh, because I guess second place is going to be the loser of the unfortunate loser of tonight's championship game. So then whoever wins between those two. So yeah, but if the Grizzlies lose to the Clippers, and then let's say the Hawks were the team that did have the better record. I don't know what the record was of these two teams. And maybe the Celtics are just up for the third seed, and it doesn't matter anyways. But if the Hawks were the worst team, and they win and the Grizzlies win, do they just steal third place, or does it go to a next team? Or is there a tie break between those two teams? Do we get a Monday night third place game? Hey, yo. Memphis, or I guess Boston versus the Clippers. They both lost. They have to play again. But is this Abu Dhabi game? Oh, no. I was going to say, is this soon? What's going on here? But October 2nd. Okay, so mark your calendars. It's a long ways away before we get basketball in. That's why you can't take, well, I guess you can't take summer league for granted. Make no mistake. But for a degenerate basketball fan like myself, this is why we can't take it for granted. Because you go, okay, so much basketball in the regular season into the playoffs. We're into June, July playing basketball. And the playoffs were good this year as well, too. But, yeah, there's some longer series in there as well. So, I mean, kind of extended out there a bit. Pause. But then it's like, okay, am I going to be sitting down and watch Summer League? It's like, well, basketball is going to go away for a couple of months, and I'm just going to be on the YouTube then, just watching highlights, watching reruns, watching games. Be like, okay, what's Pluto got on for the classic games for the NBA in like a week? And be honest, in like a couple of days. I think even with Summer League itself, like, doing the live stream schedule, the days between the live streams can get spaced out a little bit. So sometimes I'm not necessarily sitting down watching Summer League in between those days. But it's like, okay, I come, go, whoa, pause, hey, well, we enter into the studio. What's the best way to say that? We show up and sit down, and it's like, okay, I'm kind of ready to watch some basketball again. I don't even care if it's Summer League. I'll just, so, in some ways, chat, but, but yeah, it's like, okay, it's ready to go. So, the fact that it's going to just be off the screens for a minute, hey, yo, it is what it is. And just, sports in general, live sports going away. Shout out to baseball, of course. They're going to have to hold us down. It is what it is. And we are getting training camps and stuff in there. Like, it's not too bad. We're going to be in the end of July and then into August, and then college football will start at the end of August. So, only a couple of weeks, I guess. But and is there some soccer stuff? There might be like a World Cup thing going on this summer. So maybe that is interesting as well. But yeah, just in general, of course, this break is the definite dead zone for the live sports. So even if it is just Summer League, and even if it is just guys that we don't even know, it's like, okay, it's just the last time that we're going to get sports for a couple months. So I guess we'll throw it on the TVs. It is what it is. But In honor of Memphis. Oh, I guess we said. Well, wait a second. Hey, IT's saying we gotta check out some of these Summer League guys, real quick. Yeah, let's see what we had for performances because I know we did a little update about halfway through, so I don't know if we've had any, massive pause risers since then. Filipowski. See, that's the problem. You have a couple of great games. It's like, well, he's not gonna play more games, I guess, but. David Jones Garcia, shout out for the Spurs, is the, one of the lead point getters that actually was playing all the games. Our guy Matas played 2. Reed Shepard, Reed Shepard, 22 field goal attempts a game in 2 games, 11 threes, 31% from 3. Hey, yo. Shout out. You love the confidence as well, too, and you love to see, I guess, the ability. 5 assists. Oh, 2.5 assists. 5 rebounds. So, some good rebounding for sure. I think he does have a toughness to his game, even though he may be a little bit undersized. He may be a little Tom Cruise going for Reed Shepard, but, regardless, he gets out there and competes. So, you like to see the rebounding number up there, but 22 shots a game is crazy. Is that the leader for Summer League? It is. Cooper Flagg was right behind him, 21 shots a game. So it is I guess, if we looked at the Reed Shepard, is it like a one game was awesome, one game was not sort of scenario? Because that's definitely what it was with Cooper Flagg, obviously. That first game, he did take 21 shots in that game. So did he take 21 shots in the other game as well, too? But yeah, he was like 5 for 21 in that other game. So I guess, and he was what, like 10 for, he might have been, 10 for 21 in that game against Spurs. So I guess, it would be easy to do the math if we know that he made 5 in the first game. And only, 21% from 3 is just, again, 2 games, not necessarily looking at the box scores, putting too much stock in it. Our guy Walter Clayton only played 1 game. We'll put too much stock in Walter Clayton's game. Played 1 game, that's all you need, chat. 47% from the field, 40% from 3. Hey, yo, 1 for 2 from the free throw line. So just don't project that out at all, and we'll be okay there. So yeah, wait, back to the points real quick. Where's Sar at? Is our guy Sar up here? He was playing well defensively. People were shouting out his defense. Yeah, 5 blocks a game in 2 games. So he really did bounce back in that game too, because in game 1, his scoring was not great, unfortunately. I don't want to necessarily track down the box score for that second Wizards Summer League game, but I don't think he made a shot. So the math could be pretty easy, honestly, to try to figure out, or not. I'm not going to do math on this, but he so I guess he made 6. Well, he made 12 shots in the last game. Okay, we do know that. So he was cooking there a little bit. So wait, did he score 30? Did he score 31 points in the last game if he didn't score any in the first game? Because I don't know if he made a free throw or anything as well too. Just to try to remember what the box score was. Hey yo, but 8 rebounds, 5.5 blocks. So it is what it is. And I remember we did look up that first box score where he wasn't putting up a ton of, he didn't make a ton of shots, and it was quite a bit of 3-pointers as well too. So only 2.5 per game. I don't know, did he take any in game 2? It might have changed up his play style a little bit. Might have gone for a more, this is kind of what he's going to be in the regular season version of himself. And it actually, as you would hope so, actually kind of dominated as well too. In the two-way domination, because he is a guy, but he is a guy that I guess you don't necessarily need him to be, again, the lead Summer League scorer. It would be, I think, awesome for Wizards fans to be like, oh, man, wait a second. Sar got the blocks, but also there is a scoring thing that's continuing to be unlocked here as well too. But just as long as he's efficient and the defense is there and the rebounding and all that stuff works out, I think he would be okay for the most part. But our guy, Henson Yang, 4 games played with 2.5 blocks a game, 10 points a game. So 45% for the field, 3.5 assists as well too for our guy Yang, 5 rebounds, and 11 in the plus minus over 4 games. So I don't know if there's some standout plus-minus guys. Cryer, shout out. A.J. Mitchell. Yeah, 51% from the field, 36% for three. So wait a second. Where is it? Oh, is he on the Hawks? Actually, I might have seen his name earlier now that I think about it. Looking at that box score earlier. So let's hear, because he was drafted by OKC. So shout out, Thunder, the Thunder once again. Oh wait, he is still on the Thunder. Hey yo, Toppich and Mitchell. I thought he was on a different team. So wait, who did I see? Wait, do we have to go back to the Hawks here, real quick, and see where I got mixed up? Because I thought I did see a Mitchell in this game putting up points. So I guess, hot take, there could be another A. Mitchell on the court. Oh, well, it's Flagler. Okay, this is an OKC guy. I guess they got a couple of OKC guys. I remember just seeing the OKC jersey pop up at one point. 514. So we did see one of his makes on the box score when we scrolled up, but not the guy that I guess OKC Thunder let go. So would it be nice for the rest of the league? Of course they kept AJ Mitchell. So their bench next year is going to be AJ Mitchell and Toppich, and it's going to work out. It's going to be fine. I mean, people are ready for Toppich to step in. I'm not even saying people in OKC. Like, he's kind of a around the league darling type of guy. That's kind of crazy. Hey, what is Rick Pitino running the pod? But he's kind of a guy that the media people are really talking up as well too. So he is a fun. I mean, unfortunately with the 3-point shooting aspect of it, Josh Giddey's playmaking was never really able to fit in to OKC. But I mean, like would they have lost the title this year with Josh Giddey? Like, you get Case and Wallace. Like, I guess the thing is they trade him for Caruso. So that if there was a way to, and then you get Toppich as well too. So if there was a way to get Caruso and then not give up Giddey, I mean, hey, and then there's, I guess I don't remember the exact timeline of the trade stuff as well too. So there may have been other reasons where, it may have been beneficial to try to see if there was a reason to move on. And with his contract stuff as well too, that's just going to be a thing that you're going to run into anyways with the money that they just spent. They just spent almost $1 billion on contracts on just the 3 guys that they re-signed. But the just the idea of that type of player with the team that they have now, it's like, okay, it probably would work at some point. So Toppich is definitely playing in a much more favorable version of that version of a player on that team, if that makes sense. But it does seem like people just, again, really like his game as well too. So I saw a couple, like really just a couple, like only a couple, because I'm not going to be like, oh man, I don't want to watch Toppich just dominate the rest of the league as well too. We just watched the Thunder do that in Summer League. So I guess as much as I want to watch basketball, I guess I just don't want to watch I've watched the Thunder win enough, even if it is just for 1 year. But our guy Terrence Shannon having kind of a nice Summer League as well too. 3 games, 47% from the field, 38% from 3. Honestly, you'll take it. You'll take it, because I don't know. If Terrence Shannon was like a 50-40 guy with his scoring, he is a little bit older as well too. He was, I think, a 4-year guy, maybe a 5-year guy in college. I don't know. Maybe he's only a 3-year guy. I'm not sure. Who knows? He might have only been a 2-year guy. But so maybe he just plays like a vet. Maybe that's a compliment. But I thought that one of his draft things as well too was he was here. I guess we can just look up what we've got for Terrence Shannon info here. Rookie, they got him in the last draft, but he's almost 25 in a couple days. So again, a little bit more age-wise into that rookie contract than some of the other Summer League players. So maybe you would expect, again, some better performances, but I don't think he is a guy that you can expect necessarily to be that total level efficient. There is just a little bit of a chaotic nature to his scoring game. So, I mean, again, I think it's possible. He's skilled enough to be able to get there, but also, and he's going to be a lead guy as well, too, in Summer League. So I think that's totally fine. Filipowski, 56-39s, but Filipowski's a center, so his field goal percentage is going to be a little bit higher, and then pick and popping, he might be getting more favorable looks in that type of range as well too. So Again, you got Reed Shepard as a guard, like 36%. You got Matas, who is a little bit more forward than a little bit more forwardy than Terrence Shannon with that stuff, but still kind of a scorer type player, but does have that playmaking element as well too. Didn't have the 3-point percentage to quite match, and again, 38.5 is like, oh, was he the 3 games there's some consistency there, but at least that number is definitely higher up. So McCullough, 2 games, 51% from the field is pretty good as well too. But you just see as well, for the higher usage guys, his efficiency was actually pretty good. Cody Williams. Is Cody Williams making a first-team All-Summer League case? He had, 20 points a game? Am I getting the column right? Yeah, 20 a game, 46 and 34. 5 games played is not bad. I guess our guy, Javon Liberty Freeman, 21 a game, 50% from the field, is also cooking as well, too. So, I don't know if first-team Summer League is just like, it probably is Filipowski, Timmy, Reed Shepard, and Matas, well, what happened to first team Summer League? No, Shannon's got to be on it as well, too. And Jones Garcia, but also Holland. I guess Holland, speaking of efficiency, 52% from the field, 46% from 3. Ron Holland. That's kind of, I guess because we have a lot of Piston stock going into next year, so their guys playing well is, would line up with that for sure. But him being one of the standout Summer League players is not super surprising anyways. But I guess just him being that efficient as well, too, is just an extra level of impressive on top of it. So he is up there with the plus-minus as well, too, for a lot of the guys. Our guy, Terrence Shannon, +8 as well, too, and Jones Garcia. So maybe that is first-team Summer League. Maybe it's Shannon, Jones Garcia, and, who do we say, Ron Holland? So, do we have to pull the Pistons back up? Is Ron Holland going to be a starter on the Pistons? Because I think that Tobias Harris was an expiring contract last year. And they lost Tim Hardaway Jr. as well, too, who was not a starter for him, but still gave him some minutes. So, they get back Ivy, healthy, who you assume jumps into that starting lineup as well, too. Him and Cade. Asar could definitely be a starter at some point. Duran is going to be a starter. You got Beef Stew off the bench. Duncan Robinson, you're paying him, so you might as well start him at this point. But then you have that versatility with Holland. So if you're bringing Holland off the bench, so we said Asar's the starting 4. I guess they've got him listed at shooting guard here, but I think you could definitely start him at 4, or you just start Holland at the 4, I guess. And then bring Asar off the bench. So you go Cade. And to be honest, like, again, with Holland playing this well, that is one of those things that when you're looking at the offseason moves, and again, we're overreacting to Summer League, but hey, it's July. We love doing it. So I pause. Whoa. But this is one of those things that you can't calculate at the time of the free agent signings, and is one of the things that makes the timing of free agency of the NBA interesting, and it makes Summer League interesting, I guess, as well, too. I guess NFL does have this, which is training camp, where it's more, rumor-based than it is Summer League. We can, again, we can actually get a visual of the guys, so the fan, or I guess the fan and the media overreaction can actually, be generated from what we're watching. And, they do have media people, of course, at the training camps. But a lot of that stuff is, oh, wait a second, we signed this guy, but this 7th-round pick or this 5th-round pick is all of a sudden, like the receivers, I think, is a pretty easy area to see that happening for guys elevating, running back rooms as well, too. Even offensive linemen. And stuff, defensive, pretty much anywhere. I think quarterbacks, typically, you draft a guy, he's going to get the job. But that, again, to bring it back to Duncan Robinson, I guess, the point was when you sign him in free agency, you're like, okay, is that a little bit rich for Duncan Robinson? And is he a little bit limited in his role? He's going to be a great 3-point shooter, but also there's been times in Miami where it's like, is he kind of played himself? And with his defense as well, too, like what's his importance in a lineup in the playoffs, where maybe if you're spending that kind of money, do you want that option to be at the rate? When you see And I guess we have to actually see what his bucket getting abilities are like, and if that's going to be okay. Are these things that is he going to be getting buckets like this in the NBA, or is it still? But even still, again, they have the other point guards. He's at the end of the day, it's always going to be Cade running the team. And if Holland is taking a step up as well too, again, it makes a signing like Duncan Robinson better. I'm not saying that, and maybe the Pistons did just know, oh yeah, we got Ron Holland, lock him in. I mean, again, they're in these are the guys that are around these guys all the time. So having that confidence in your players to take that step forward is great as well too. But him being able to even take a step up scoring, and then Duncan Robinson's just perimeter game can be accentuated even more, where again you're like, okay, is where do we get the defense from a guy like Duncan Robinson, and are we going to be able to maintain the spacing on the floor and the perimeter stuff the same way if we take him off, but then have to and then have to bring in the defensive lineups as well too, which is obviously one of the reasons that made OKC so terrifying was you have trade for Caruso. Now you have a guy that can be the defensive guy in the 3-point shooting. Dort was an incredible 3-point shooter. Jalen Williams can obviously, or I guess Dort was incredible at making threes for him in the playoffs this year. I don't know what his percentage ended up being, but felt like he was automatic there at times. And then Williams and Chet and Shea, obviously those guys are great. But yeah, if Holland is in that mix as well too, where Holland is starting at the 4, like all those guys, Cade again is going to be once, and that's the thing about the hot take, but 2025, and that's the positionless basketball thing, is it's more about again the roles on the court than it is about the actual position stuff. Pause. But as long as Cade's not just a franchise guy, and I get that. I get that kind of encompasses a lot of the skill of a player, but Cade's ability to actually run an offense and set guys up and to be a point guard level guy, like he's going to be controlling that at the end of the day on the court. Like you have that area figured out. I mean, Wemby, I guess, but even a guy like Anthony Edwards as well too, or even Shea a little bit to some degree. But again, he just won the title, so it's a little bit difficult to say. But Tatum's had to take this step up in being like an actual point guard for the team, and that was one of the reasons that they actually were able to get pushed over the top and win the title the year they did, because he again wasn't even scoring that great consistently throughout. Jaylen Brown, of course, was able to step up and be an amazing scorer for him for that finals run and won the finals MVP, and is part of the reason that they did that. But Tatum had to elevate his playmaking game as well too. Some of the guys, it's like, okay, yes, Anthony Edwards, we know he's on the team. We have the scorer locked in. If we need a bucket, like, oh yeah, Anthony Edwards is our guy. But the playmaking, setting guys up stuff, of course, is a little different as well too. But Cade, he's going to have that. So I guess the point is everybody around him then can function in those complementary roles. Whereas with Edwards, again, you're still, not to call out Edwards, but it's just, that type of score first 2 guard. Again, even to use our own example, Wembanyama brings the defense, can bring hopefully the ability to be able to really get that bucket. Hopefully he should be able to get bucket 1-on-1 at 7.5 feet tall. But, and Durant, if he's modeling himself after Durant, Durant's like this as well too, where Durant was necessarily, not necessarily a set guys up in that type of way player, but such a great scorer that other guys could play off him. And to be honest as well too, Durant has gotten lucky / done a good job of always kind of pairing himself up with a lead guard as well too, where obviously gets Westbrook, Presti drafts Westbrook, and that's where you get the kind of fortunate luck factor to be on a team with Presti, and Presti's able to grab Westbrook as your teammate. But as much as we clown him for going to the obvious pick of Golden State, it's not like he went to a team where, he's playing with Melo and Wade or something like that. I was going to say LeBron and Wade, but then LeBron, obviously could be that point guard type guy. Maybe Miami LeBron, a little bit different than the Cleveland, LA LeBrons that we got in terms of that point guard type stuff. But the point being, Cade, when you have that type of franchise player, it makes building a team a lot different and a lot easier in a way. Now, I guess, easier in some, like Wemby is going to cover up areas of the court and other players' deficiencies and raise other players' games in ways that Cade's not too as well too, because of the defensive stuff. But I guess, offensively, that is going to just make an ease for everybody else to fit in more so. And again, you're not necessarily looking for Holland to play make and all that. So you're not looking for Duncan Robinson to play make. You're looking for those guys to, you need guys where, okay, this is the perimeter game. This is the defense. This is all that stuff. Pistons, team of the year candidate, chat. I'm in on the Pistons, but this is why I like Cade as a franchise guy as well, too, going forward. And this is why I like Paolo as a franchise guy as well, too, because Paolo has some of those point guard type skills. I don't think Paolo is necessarily a guy where you go, okay, we have Paolo, we have our point guard. I guess, to do the LeBron comparison, like LeBron is a little bit like that as well, too. But LeBron, especially, again, like the Cleveland, LA runs, as much as you would be like, okay, as much as, Rondo was important for that team winning the title, there is still, and, Kyrie as well, too. I mean, you just need great players on your team. And great guards are a part of that. But, I mean, you really could get away with, obviously, LeBron running the team as a point guard. I mean, Luka, of course, is just a point guard, basically, in a forward's body. I mean, Cade is a little bit into that as well, too. But Paolo, at least, gives you some relief in that playmaking stuff. So he may be a little bit in Shea, like Shea, in that type of way. Where Shea, you wouldn't necessarily say he's a full-on point guard, but his scoring is so lethal, and then just the rest of the team is so, I guess, they're good at playmaking as well, too. But then that's kind of the perfect example of having the perimeter three-point shooting guys around him in that type of way. So, yeah, I like the Pistons. And if Holland is going to be a factor, like, that weirdly does unlock a lot of depth. And I guess I'm projecting as Asar being really good as well, too. But even those two guys, like, I'm not even necessarily, like, Ivy could almost be kind of the same, because Ivy is a good player. I think Ivy could still, there's levels to go up. Eastern Conference All-Stars, I mean, Ivy could be in competition for a starter if he's healthy next year and really playing well. But even if he is in that range, because his three-point shooting was, I don't think he's necessarily, like, every night he's going to be high 30s to 40s. But it's definitely more consistent. Yeah, he was 40% in 30 games. Okay, I take it back. Jaden Ivey. Shout out. 33-34. So it was a stark uptick for sure this year. But, again, this version of Jaden Ivey is obviously a really good player. If they get Jaden Ivey back at 17 points a game, it's that 17, 4-4, and pretty good efficiency, to have that kind of scoring next to Cade. Again, you have Cade's going to take care of the playmaking stuff. I think Ivy's going to find his role scoring off of Cade in a great way. Like, there is a version of that where Ivy is like, okay, do I want to have, is there a my own team version of Ivy? But I almost think that the progression from him to get there, but he could be a little Westbrooky as well too, I think, where, like, as much as Westbrook is a guy that, like, once Durant left and it's like, okay, he can unlock, he can get all the stats. He is a guy that, as long as he was playing with Westbrook, or playing with Durant, he was okay with that competition. Like, who knows if Westbrook had his own team and then Durant joins his team after Westbrook gets established as the best guy, it becomes a little bit of a different thing. But because they kind of grow up together, and maybe Jalen Williams as well too is a little bit like this with Shea. But Jalen Williams' game is a little bit more play off of a scorer as well too. Like, he could definitely take a role and be like, okay, I'm going to definitely take more shots and take more responsibility in the offense. But he's a little bit Devin Booker-ish, where you could Devin Booker, again, you're like, okay, he could lead the team, but also his game is so good off the ball and being set up via plays and, having a lead guard get you into the good spots on the court. Yeah, again, the best version of the team that they had was with Chris Paul, where I think Ivy is a little bit like that, where the best version of Ivy, the most impactful version of Ivy in playoff minutes, is in that lead, or in that in that off-ball version next to a lead guy like Cade, but also could, again, continue to develop where it's like maybe he could be unlocked stats-wise in, his own role as well too. But the point being, Jaden Ivey is a player that I think, as long as he's there for him with the team that they have, if those guys are getting better, then that's an immediate impact. Just getting that version of Jaden Ivey back, he's awesome for him. And then, yeah, you have Asar and Holland taking a step off the bench. So that would make their lineup here. I guess, did we sort it by what they have here to get a good look? Chaz Lanier. We're forgetting about Chaz Lanier. Ayo. And Karis LeVert, they gave him $14 million. They might be able to just look the other way on that. Or that becomes one of those contracts that's really smart. And you're like, oh, now we have a contract to trade. It is what it is. But between LeVert and who was the other guy that they signed that we said was, between LeVert and Robinson, I mean, those are two guys that, again, could be rotation guys just on any team, as much as you could debate what the impact is there. And that is about $30 million in salary. And then if you really are throwing in the other assets, you're really upgrading what you're getting back as well, too. You're taking a swing in that way. But if you're just thinking, I don't know who's going to be in that $30 million a year range. I don't know if this, a Julius Randle destination. But, is this, I guess it's summer. It'll all change. I don't know what and I guess with especially this past free agency, who are the new $30 million a year guys? Because the rules on the trade stuff, like you can't trade a max contract guy before, like, after a year, after they get traded. Like Tatum has some trade restrictions right now where he can't even be traded next year because it's his first year on the max contract. But I don't think it works like that for every player. So if you're in that $30 million a year range, I think you just have like the 6-month window or whatever. But by the time we get to the trade deadline, your name could be called, is essentially it. So, yeah, you got Brandon Ingram at $40 million. I know that, again, it's a little bit of a rich contract from Toronto. But if you're a team that has those younger players on those favorable deals and they rise to that level where they're massively outplaying their contracts, then you get into that spot where it's worth taking that swing. And, if you'd have to look at it the other way as well, too, and go, oh, yeah, Brandon Ingram's producing in Toronto. Maybe you'd need Toronto to be, I would say, underachieving, but I don't know if their win total is going to be super high this year. But, maybe the rest of Toronto is not super too. But even Scotty Barnes where's Scotty Barnes at? He's at 44. So he might get into the 50s at some point. And, see, Brandon Ingram's interesting because he's like a 3-year deal, so you think him on by the time you're re-signing Asar and Holland potentially, you're not having to worry about the extra contract years with Brandon Ingram as well too. Like Scotty Barnes does have his contract does go to 29-30. So I have Scotty Barnes stock, make no mistake. I think that in the 3-year window, that's actually that'd be a fun trade. Scotty Barnes and Cade, the 3-point shooting stuff could be interesting. And then you could get into you start trading up Duncan Robinson, their one perimeter guy for Scotty Barnes. You already have Cade. Maybe the fit of that is a little strange. But the Scotty Barnes player level, if they could get a guy like that. And again, you're looking at, I don't know if Toronto's going to do, you're going to need some picks and stuff back for a guy that level player. Toronto's going to want a little bit more maybe than what Detroit would want to give up. Jaren Jackson, that's another guy that just re-signed as well too. So I guess that is the part we were not considering with the re-signing. But Kyrie, he's not necessarily healthy for a lot of this year. Ja, the Memphis to Detroit trade. Hey yo, I guess LeVert and Duncan Robinson is probably not going to get that done, but you're going to need to throw in extra contracts as well too. I mean, that's the Ivy swing right there, where if Ja is back to, but Ivy's got, Ivy's a little bigger than Ja. Pause. Maybe there's a defensive thing with Ivy that he could provide. And again, Ivy, his potential off the ball next to Cade, I think is more interesting than what Ja could provide. In that, so Cade could move a little bit off the ball as well too. That could be interesting, but I think Cade's a better playmaker, and that team becomes a little bit different Ja focused. Again, Cade is a spacer and stuff. It does still work in a way, and I guess what's he at right now? $39 million. So trading for him this year. I don't know what the rules are with the new CB. There's probably new rules now where you don't get to cheat the system like that, because wait, where's his? Does he have an extension locked in? Oh, I guess he's in the middle of his extension. I thought maybe he had another extension that he had in there as well. To pause. So he would have 3 years left. Ooh, Ja would be interesting And sorry to Memphis fans. I know, shout out Chris Vernon, always defending John Simmons' pod. I don't think the Memphis fans are ready to give up their guy yet. It is what it is. Whoop. I don't know that whoop that trick, Chad. I don't know if they're ready to part with the team for, Jaden Ivey at this point. And Jaden Ivey is probably like, what, 12 some million in salary? So between Jaden Ivey, Dunk, you might be able to keep one of them. You might be able to keep LeVert. You have Ja and LeVert next to Cade. Could be interesting. But that's the type of swing they'd have to take. Again, I would really like to see what Ivey would be on this team healthy, because we haven't seen him on, let's just say it, a version of the good Pistons team as well too for a large stretch, because they really got, I think, played more cohesively, and Cade got back and healthy and stuff, and they really started to figure it out more toward the end of last year. I mean, the stock going into them into the playoffs was definitely a lot higher than it was, again, for just for what the perception was, but also for how they were playing at the start of the season. Bane just got traded. Brunson to the Pistons. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Sengun's interesting because you do Cade with the scoring center. He wouldn't. Him and Duren, there might be some overlap there with the positions of the court, but there is a version of those guys playing together as well too. Like, you could definitely use Duren's defense next to Sengun, and Sengun's offense next to Duren would be really interesting as well too. I don't know. Again, Houston, that's one where you may be able to kind of give them some bad contracts if Houston really wants to take picks, but they're also competing right now as well too. So that would have to be like an Isaiah Stewart might have to be in that trade as well. Like a Isaiah Stewart, Duncan Robinson type move. And that would be, are we getting interesting now? I don't know if you start, Sengun's an all-star. There's another piece in there. There's probably a pick for sure in there as well too. Like, I'm not saying that's not the only trade, but now we're starting to sound, and we're getting a little bit farther down the list as well too for contracts. But now we're starting to sound a little bit interesting. Again, the Rockets with the win now stuff, if they really are like, okay, we don't care about the long term. We're still getting a pick back either way. And the 3-point shooting that Duncan Robinson provides, and the, Beef Stew still gives you the center minutes and the defensive stuff, and you'd rather have that with the extra spacing. Like that, there's a world where you can start talking yourself into something like that for sure. So that could be interesting. Zion, they just guaranteed Zion's contract. Zion, that's maybe we're even getting more realistic. Zion, I just don't even want to think about Zion getting traded for Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert. But the Michigan trade for Zion, ooh, chat. Who would have thought? Who would have thought in a handful of years ago that, I guess, watching basketball in 2019, Zion just dunking on Taco Fall, be like, oh yeah, you know what? They're gonna trade Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert for him one day. It's gonna make sense, and you're gonna be like, you know what? The Pelicans, they're finally moving on. It's good for them. But so this is where we're at, and that'd be a real highlight for. I guess it wouldn't. Michigan's. It's not like we're not struggling for NBA highlights with our players, but it would be maybe an NBA highlight for those certain eras of Michigan basketball. I don't know, but Porter, Gobert, Gordon from Denver. Like, if Denver wants to go on a 2-for-1, like a Stewart for Gordon trade would be interesting. I think Gordon has improved his 3-point percentage, but Stewart, Beef Stew's got a little 3-point range, does he not? If I'm not mistaken, our guy can step out to the corner if he's asked. 32%. He's not necessarily automatic. I guess he's up to last year he was 38% at 3.5 a game. I don't know. Could you talk yourself to Beef Stew in the Aaron Gordon role? Aaron Gordon, I think, is he a little better playmaker in that role as well too? Maybe a better, just more athletic, better cutter. But Beef Stew will run around in the court if you need him to. So that could be interesting. Beef Stew and Duncan Robinson. You get the Nuggets to panic. Start, Stan Kroenke's already thinking about trading Jokic. I don't know why he's not thinking about trading the other pieces around Jokic, but apparently he's like, okay, if we're gonna revamp the team, obviously we start with the biggest number on the books. Jokic gotta go. But if it's again, you could talk yourself into a couple of those role players. Could be interesting. Portland with Drew Holiday. Drew actually would be really interesting on the Pistons. And I think his, like we've talked about, his veteran leadership anywhere is going to be valuable. So the fact that Portland has those guards like Scoot, and Scoot being in the model, potentially being in the model of a guy like Drew as well too, like just the direct mentorship that could potentially happen there is awesome that opportunity exists. But the immediate playoff competitiveness that I think Drew could still provide in a team, again, is like, do we want him to be our fourth best guy on a team that's trying to win the title? Is maybe a little bit too much to ask at this point. But if he's a piece of a rotation of a team that's like, are we trying to be the 4 seed or the 3 seed? Like, is the Pistons like kind of talking to themselves like, are we the second or third best team in the regular season, Eastern Conference this year? Like, could we make that push? Especially, you're starting to look at the depth, like we're saying, as well too. And even guys like, a guy like Sasser, that guy can be good in the regular season for you. I think he can be good in the playoffs as well. But that guy can be good in the regular season. He can provide some valuable minutes for sure. And on nights when, again, some of those guards are in and out, you're going to need the load management, the minutes. Again, the Pistons, as much as we love them, they're not going to be the healthiest team. It is what it is. K's probably going to miss some games. Ivy's probably going to miss some games next year. But Sasser can definitely go out there and, man the ship for sure. So you're just thinking contract stuff, him versus Holiday gets interesting as well. But I would rather have, shout out to the Maize and Blue. I don't know if, Michigan fans don't hate me. But at some point, you got to also be a unbiased basketball fan here. I just would rather have Drew Holiday than Karis LeVert, even still 235. It is what it is. Oh, chat. Yikes. It is what it is. I'm not going on the Maize Blue Reddit boards after this. But, if I had to make the unbiased move, I would definitely try to get Drew Holiday in a situation choosing between those two players. But if you're thinking him with those type of minutes, his defense as well too, and it is a backcourt guy where they have some wings and stuff. Asar, I think, could play more in the front court for sure, despite his listing. But otherwise, yeah, you're looking at Duren and Cade, like we're saying, for sure. Asar in that lineup as a starter, and then Ivy as well too. There's so many guys. Like, who's the starter? Hey, yo, early summer chat. Pistons are on the radar. It is what it is, but like we're saying, I'm just biased toward Cade at this point. And if you can't beat him, join him. So if we can't, I guess this doesn't really apply here. I don't know why I said that. But if you can't trade for him, join him. If the Spurs aren't going to be able to trade for Cade, or maybe we secretly want this to go bad in Detroit, are we kind of talking him up in hopes of jinxing him, and then maybe we can trade for Cade. De'Aaron Fox and whatever for Cade. Pistons fans, get ready. Hey yo, what a stark turn! What dramatic turn that would be. Some Dom Toretto level driving. Nico Harrison level driving. Nico Harrison in the Fast and Furious franchise as the villain. Just a sharp turn away from Luka Doncic. Hey yo, but yeah, and he just of course is will be playing on the first year of his rookie extension as well too. So I mean, the Pistons of course have the confidence in him as the franchise player, but so do we, and we are really liking the team that they assemble around him. And because the East is going to be interesting this year, and one of these teams is going to emerge. Charlotte's up a little bit. We can't write Charlotte off as well too. I mean, the Pistons are, of course, a little bit easier to project, a little more proven. They were in the playoffs last year. But point being, one of these random teams is going to rise. I mean, it could even, we can't even count out Miami for this as well too. We can't really count out. I have to pull back up a list of teams that are in the Eastern Conference. But like we said, I wouldn't bet on Washington making the playoffs this year. But if Washington was the 10th seed in a play-in game, I also wouldn't be shocked. Again, Alex Sarr is kind of nice, and they've got a deep rotation. I don't know if just in the regular season, if a deep rotation pod is going to be the thing that just wins out in some of these records for some of these teams. A team like Chicago where maybe they seem a little, just teams where it seems like there's direction as well too. I mean, as much as, Chicago's got more vets than some of these teams. I mean, the Chicago to Charlotte correlation is very interesting because, again, Chicago has some more between Vooch, maybe literally just Vooch is the only other veteran player. But, and Kobe White as well too. Like, again, they have some good players on that team, but it does not seem like a team that is necessarily has a lot of direction and is trending in the right way. And Charlotte actually does seem to have those things. And you imagine that that's just going to bear out in the regular season, and that you hope Charlotte continues to trend forward, and that unfortunately some of these other teams are, going to trend backwards as well too. But I like how competitive the East. I'm going to be locked in on the East as well. Can we get the Spurs in the East? I think that's going to be the plan. But it's going to be fun because, again, the mystery of it, the opportunity. I mean, again, I guess the opportunity is there. And I guess, Chad, we're just ready for the NBA 2026. It is what it is. Because I think, like I've said before, I think the Western Conference as well, too. I mean, again, it's stacked, so I'm just kind of talking as like, oh, yeah, the Western Conference is sorted out. But then the minute I think about the Western Conference, I'm like, oh, wait a second. No. Yeah, the Thunder are obviously up there. But outside of that, who are we absolutely trusting? We're trusting some players. But are we trusting rosters around him? I mean, chat, do we got to have a hot take time in July? Do we like some of these East rosters better than the West? Like the 8 to 9 player rotation over some of these teams. Here, let me just, I got to pull up it just side by side real quick. And they get it could just be Rem proves his delusion on some of these guys. I guess because I'm not saying like the Wizards are, well, I guess the Wizards could be better than like the Suns next year. Here, let's go to FanDuel and see what they have for the Bing load. There we go. Let's go to FanDuel and see what we have for odds, because again, records wise, I would not necessarily be shocked. You could see a world where some of the better players on Phoenix are not playing, not necessarily traded, but you could see Devin Booker playing 35, 40 games this year, especially now that he's got his contract. You don't want to see a guy from a legacy standpoint miss an opportunity at some All NBAs and, just another great season, just in general. You just don't want to see that. But also, just he'll be fine as well, too. I think if he has to sit on the sideline and cheer from the bench, again, even just for the one season potential of it as well, too. But, again, you're looking at, like, the top-level players, obviously, like, Luka and LeBron on the Lakers. But, like, Luka on the Lakers, even Luka and Reeves as a going, build a team around these two guys going forward combo. Again, Jokic on the Nuggets. I mean, that's the perfect example. So, second team in the East compared to the... I mean, again, we like OKC as a roster more than the Cleveland roster. But the Cleveland's got a pretty good roster, and if we flipped, if you flipped Shea and Donovan Mitchell, to be honest, it's not too far off. And I'm not saying that to like throw shade at Mitchell, but again, Shea did win a title this year as well too, so we have to respect him on a different level. But stylistically, there's a similarity that could happen between those two guys for sure as those scoring guards. But you think about putting Shea in that role next to, and I guess, again, we're discrediting Jalen Williams' role as well, too, because that's the big difference of having, again, that throw shade at Garland, but what Jalen Williams brings skill set wise from a two-way standpoint compared to what Garland brings. Like, you're thinking maybe Mobley is is Mobley way better than Chet, though? That's pretty close as well, too. But at least you have similarity, maybe probably better a little bit with Mobley. I mean, Mobley's just played more at this as well too, so I don't know if we're like locking in that Mobley's going to be better at, or that Chet won't be better at this point in his career than Mobley at some point, though, because Mobley's like one draft, maybe 2 drafts ahead of Chet, maybe 2. No, he's 1 draft because Chet's not in the Wemby drafts. It goes Mobley, then I guess for number 2 picks it goes Mobley, then Chet, then Brandon Miller. I guess not Scoot. Shout out, but yeah, that's again the point being it's still pretty close. Like I guess you have Hunter as the potential Jalen Williams, but you do have the makeshift pieces, or Hunter as the Dort, I guess. And again, it is a credit to the rest of the OKC roster as well too. But yeah, it's close there for sure. You're still picking OKC, but top to bottom, the Knicks versus the Nuggets. Again, Brunson versus Jokic. I mean, Brunson's not the farthest guy in the league in terms of the player ratings behind Jokic. I mean, Jokic is definitely, in some ways a step above everybody. But again, if it's just like the blank, okay, Jokic is the best player in the league, I mean, Brunson might be the sixth best player in the league. So the drop-off is not that crazy overall. And then, again, there's just no way that, and maybe the nostalgia, like how strong is the nostalgia factor? How much do Denver fans love Murray is basically the question. But you kind of have to swap those teams. If you just say the Knicks get to keep Brunson and the Nuggets get to keep Jokic, but both of the rosters change, I mean, Jokic with Towns and Bridges and Anunoby and even Mitchell Robinson, like Valanciunas, go ahead and go to Europe at that point. Or maybe Valanciunas is like, oh, well, now I'm in New York. I'll just go ahead and stay in the NBA. But, I mean, that's the backup center. And then Towns can play with Jokic. I mean, defensively, who knows? You don't have the shot block. Mitchell Robinson, I guess. You could play three bigs, honestly. Jokic could just be the point guard. Jokic, Towns, and Mitchell Robinson all at the same time. I mean, we definitely see that lineup at some point. I mean, the plus minus to Jokic is definitely a good lineup as well too. But you're definitely taking the Knicks. The Rockets is a pretty deep team, so pause. But Orlando's close as well too. And maybe this is where the odds sort of, it's like, okay, what do you agree with at this point as well too? Because Atlanta at 9-1. They Trae Young versus Cade. I guess Trae Young is more playoff proven, even though I would still just rather have Cade going into the playoffs. Like, if we just time jumped into the playoffs right now, I would still rather have Cade, even without the provenness compared to Trae Young. But I'm not against Trae Young getting the respect in the odds that way. And you're, Jalen Johnson as well too, and Ricochet. So, I mean, Jalen Johnson and Ricochet versus, I guess it depends on who you're taking as the best player in the Rockets at this point, because we could get tricky in this conversation and say, okay, Amen Thompson is technically their number one trade asset. So are we talking trade assets? But then it would be like Jalen Johnson versus Amen Thompson in a conversation that way. So if we're going, I guess, Trae Young versus Kevin Durant as the best players, then, again, Amen Thompson versus Jalen Johnson's close. I would still take Amen Thompson. He's athletically a little bit more, but that's really what it would boil down to, would be, and I guess he's a little better playmaker as well too. But Jalen Johnson offensively has proven he's right there. Minnesota is, a pretty good top to bottom roster for sure. But, and again, do the Spurs or the Mavs elevate up over the Warriors this year? Because, I mean, the Warriors haven't really done much, and their roster's not looking too hot. But maybe Memphis is better. Maybe Portland is way better than all these teams as well, too. I mean, they're not going to win the West, I don't think. But what's their odds to make the playoffs? We might have to mute the screen, and we might have to go to break and place a bet. Hey, yo, what is Portland? And I guess the play-in, this would be them winning yes, to make the playoffs. We can get them almost 5-1 in July. Chat, I'm going to whisper this so not very many people hear it. And definitely go to BETSTAMP and just double check if this is the best odds as well, too. I mean, I guess shout out to FanDuel. I'm assuming for a sportsbook, this is about as fair as you're going to get, FanDuel. But, I mean, on BETSTAMP, you just link all of the sportsbook that you're signed up to. Because make no mistake, we all know you're signed up to multiple sportsbooks. I mean, I guess I am. So, you guys are. I guess we do a good job. I mean, I guess I'm not saying that I'm always using the multiple ones. It is what it is. You kind of get locked into your one. But you have your main one. It is what it is. But, you can, just in case, you can use BETSTAMP to compare the odds across all the different sportsbooks to see if this is the best one. So another sportsbooks might have the Blazers at like plus 510 to make the playoffs. And even, he's a little bit more money there. Absolutely. But that is not bad for taking a swing. Honestly, I don't know, play-in NBA Cup. So Portland winning an NBA Cup would be a good test. Wait, is this for the league? Hey, yo, chat. This is about, I don't know if this is better or worse than ESPN. We're talking NBA Cup preview in July. Hey, yo, first take. What's first take even talking about right now at this point? I guess it's just gonna probably. Would you guys rather hear us talk about Marcus Smart to the Lakers, or who's gonna win NBA Cup in July? Hey, yo, we got to find out where, I guess the Pistons are 28. The Pistons at 28-1. Can we bet a couple of these? Hey, yo, chat. We got Charlotte at 110-1. I got Portland 180-1. Chat, we're going to be rich. We're going to be rich. forget 5-1 to make the playoffs. 180-1. Chet, what's our how much will FanDuel let you bet? Can we bet $1 million? Max wager? Oh, only $100. FanDuel. Never mind. Not fair at all. I feel like we could bet. We could probably bet like 1,000 on plus 360. They may cap this out. Do they cap the bets out depending on what the odds are? We could bet 1,000. Oh, we can bet $1,400, I guess, on the Thunder to win the NBA Cup. So wait a second. To make the playoffs, you imagine the Thunder would have pretty obvious odds to get that. No, you can't even bet them to make the playoffs. No, they're 70-1. So I guess, real disaster season. We'll see what division winners. Cleveland minus 310. Okay. OKC minus 370 to win the division. I guess Portland maybe not to have a better regular season record. But Minnesota, I don't know. I guess OKC is probably going to be fine in the regular season. Can we get to 10K on this? We might be in like the 5K range, honestly. Oh, no. So maybe the max FanDuel wager is $1,400. I guess, broke boy alert, chat. We've never bet $1,400 on FanDuel. So is this really like Rem's not a high roller corner? This is I guess this is perfect time to pivot into hustle and flow. Like, I guess we never actually see, our guy DJ. Spoiler alert, hey yo. And I guess should we just say as well too? Spoiler alert! If you've never seen Hustle and Flow, we're gonna be spoiling it. It is what it is as we watch along. But I think it's classic, and I imagine you guys have already seen it. But if you gotta bet, crazy amounts, I guess you go into the sports book as well too. Like, I guess what sports book are there? Sports books, shady sites probably where you could bet maybe 10, 100K. I'm assuming you could find a way to bet 100K online. I'm assuming it's not gonna be impossible. But you see, of course, our guy Drizzy is out here betting these massive amounts, and just anybody, betting, dropping. I mean, you see $1 million bets on stuff for sure, and sometimes. Again, you'll see like $1 million and you can win 600,000. I guess I'm not doing the odds. Is that minus 600? What is Drake betting on that's minus 600? It's got to be a fight or something. I don't know if anybody's minus 600 in a fight. It's gonna be a prelim or who knows. But we're halfway there with OKC just winning their division, I guess. And is Drake gonna be extra betting on his guy Shea this season because Shea is one of the guys in the NBA that has his back as well too. So we're gonna $18,000 when Portland wins the NBA Cup. Chat, hey yo, do we just go to GOAT right now and just start shopping shoes? StockX. Do we see what we got on there? I think we need to get back into the mix because for some reason, I don't know if it's just a sign, chat, but we've been having conversations at work about sneakers, and there's a new sneaker store in the mall here in town, and it's like, oh come on, I thought we were just it's not like we're not trying to be cleansed, I guess, of a sneaker addiction or anything like that, but just just in continued ways to be more responsible. It's like, okay. We're not even going to try to present ourselves with the temptation, and I guess more importantly than just making moves, it's like we've done a good job of not even presenting ourselves with the temptation. Like, we've had to cleanse our phone of the apps. What apps are we deleting off our phone that are giving us problems? Chat, StockX and GOAT. It is what it is. The other apps, I'll deal with those problems. But StockX and GOAT, it's like this is just becoming an unmanageable issue. It is a temptation. Too much. So, we've done a good job of that. It's like, I guess, the mall's off limits now. But, this is, if the Blazers win the NBA Cup, if our guy Denny Advia carries this team to the NBA Cup, we are going to be doing good. But if you have to make a big bet, like, what is the process of that? Because I'm thinking, like, when, and now I'm which crazy movie is the title of this movie? But the Indecent Proposal is the Robert Redford. I guess we could just look this up real quick. Am I getting the cast? That's Demi Moore, Robert Redford, Woody Harrelson. Let's see here. Indecent Proposal, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm doubting myself. So because I guess the $1 million bet is not necessarily placed in the sports books AO chat, but he does place a bet. So I guess we're going to spoil Indecent Proposal here because we're going to go look at the plot. But he places the first bet where Demi Moore's good luck, and he wins the bet. but they go through like a whole process of, oh, he wants to place this big bet. They have to go get the briefcase out, and there's like a whole thing. So again, they're not like getting chips out for. I guess, do you get chips if you win it? See, chat, I gotta go actually place bets in a sports book at some point. FanDuel, it's making us lazy. Okay, wait, they need $50,000. They win half of it. That's right. But wait a second. Diana assures David that she loves him regardless of the money. Hey, yo, chat. Well, they didn't know that Robert Redford was in the next room. The next day, they lose everything at roulette. That doesn't help either. They watch Gage play Baccarat. So she makes a winning roll on it. Oh, so it was a $1 million bet also that he placed. So do we have to do a little inflation adjuster? Hey, yo, I don't know. Yeah, we want to be looking up inflation calculators nowadays. But it's going to be like, oh, actually, $1 million in 1993 is $750,000 now. Like, well, what happened? But I don't know what. Okay, wait. So 19, and I guess, did I say 73? 1993, if I'm remembering correctly for this movie. Yeah, oh, April 7th. Shout out. But 1993 to 2025. So we've got an item purchase for $1 million in. I'm going to have to put the commas in to get this right. In 2020, did I just do some 100,000? So 2.2. So I don't know. Robert Redford goes to Woody Harrelson and he's like, I'm offering you $2.23256.06. And Woody Harrelson's like, let's just, can we just round that up to a nice even 2.3 at some point? 2.5. I don't know. Maybe $1 million gets it. Maybe in this economy, $1 million gets it done. I don't know, chat. But 123%. Hey, yo. But yeah, regardless, again, there's a whole. Do we have to like look what scene are we looking up? The placing the first bet, the one where actually this is the only. I guess is this a wholesome part of the movie? What wholesome parts of Indecent Proposal are there? Because I guess the first part of it's pretty wholesome. Like they're just a couple hanging out. They're in Vegas. It's like, okay, I get. Do we consider Vegas wholesome? But they're just having it. They're just hanging out. Place a bet. They're just trying to win their life savings back in Las Vegas, as you do. So I mean, that's I'd say pretty wholesome for 1993. But once Robert Redford, and I think Robert Redford is wholesome in some ways, but definitely takes a turn and is a little bit less sweet in the middle of the movie for sure. But yeah, I guess we're getting distracted talking about. I don't even remember what we were talking about with bets. I'm just thinking about Demi Moore now. So either way, could Demi Moore have been in Hustle and Flow, chat? I don't know. I was thinking about, there was another role I was thinking about. Some movie I just watched, and they were like, oh, I was listening to Rewatchables Pod, and they were like, who else could have done this role? Demi, I was screaming, Demi Moore could have done this role. Get people. I don't know what you're saying. Demi Moore could have done any role, but maybe, well, she could have found a way to bid in Hustle and Flow. Is she the Taryn Manning part in Hustle and Flow? Maybe. I don't know if they had the funds to get Terrence Howard and Demi, but Demi Moore in 05? I don't know. What year was G.I. Jane? I'm coming off of G.I. Jane pause. Like, is she too expensive at that time? It is what it is. But we'll take a quick break, chat, and then when we come back, we're going to rewatch the 2005 Terrence Howard, Taraji P. Henson classic, Hustle and Flow. Hey, yo, cue it up, chat. Let me see. I know it's on Pluto TV. Hey, yo, shout out, which is where we're going to be watching it. There's somewhere else that it's streaming. Oh, Stars! Hey, yo, shout out. It's on Stars. So, yeah, cue up your Stars. Cue up your Pluto TV, depending on where you're at in the economic ladder these days, and follow along. See, that's the great thing about Hustle and Flow. And no matter where you're at, there's no class. I was going to say classification. Classism? There's no classism with Hustle and Flow. It's just, available to anybody. It doesn't matter. I think there's a area downtown where they have just like a projector screen. They just like project ads up onto like some building. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? I think it's like an advertising firm right across the street trying to be cool. But it's like, okay, maybe they just play Hustle and Flow on there a couple of times because everybody just loves watching this movie. So we're going to watch it again, chat, 20 years later. Right after the break. All right, chat, we are back, and it's about time to get this movie queued up, Hustle and Flow. I probably should switch the sound over as well, too, because make no mistake, I mean, again, shout out to the Grizzlies Summer League team. as they are on in the background right now every time I say it, chat. But oh, here, volume on, movie going, queued up. Let's get it, chat. 20 years later, 2005, still a classic. But yeah, the Grizzlies are hustling tonight as well too. Like I was saying, they're up by almost 30 at this point. It might have been only 20. The Clippers wanted a little bit of a run and cut into the lead, so the Grizzlies had to call a timeout. I don't know. Again, 20 is the minimum that they've cut it to at this point. It's pretty decisive. The score is about to pop back up here. We shall see. Yeah, 19. Okay, so it's still a pretty dominant game. 18 minutes left, though, I guess. But the announcers were just comparing Con Knipple to James Harden and Luka Doncic, which they mentioned James Harden first, which is maybe one of the all-time comparisons that we've ever gotten. I mean, I'm not going to criticize the basketball impact on the court stuff because you don't want to write off how impactful a guy could be for a career. But I would expect it stylistically to be more in like a Luke Kennard or maybe like a smaller Gordon Hayward type of player as well too. Though I guess we could do the comparisons for him versus Gordon Hayward, but I think Gordon Hayward is like 6'8", 6'9"-ish. But yeah, but also, him being like that type of lead point guard would be kind of crazy as well too. But we shall see. Summer League Championship up next. But we got Terrence Howard in a car just opening up about life and about men and dogs, and it is what it is. But like I say, 2005 we get this movie. So the 90s and then into the early 2000s, of course, is just the peak for these type of course, hood movies that we're getting. But this being in 2005 is kind of, in a way, sort of the end of this run. Like we're saying, into the sort of the mid 2000s. And I guess, maybe I'd go back and look at some of the years. ATL might be 2006. But I'm trying to think, once you start getting into, 2007, 2008, you're not necessarily getting too much more of just this type of movie and the feel of this movie. And, John Singleton ends up executive producing on this movie, or producing, whatever the technical title, producing on this movie in a major role. Directed and written by Craig Brewster, if I'm getting the name right there. But just his feel and influence and look of movies, and what Spike is doing in the 90s and in the 80s and stuff as well too at that time, for sure. And I guess their careers, Spike's career, of course, Singleton obviously R.I.P. But he's just moves into I'd have to look up his last thing because he was still making movies. But again, just the feel of these types of movies. This is sort of the end of the era for this. But then you see, like we're saying, and I don't necessarily, not going to sit here and speculate on what Brewster's backstory is, but you do start to see a shift, at least from the era of who was telling the story. Because, again, like a white guy telling a certain story or being responsible for directing or writing a certain type of movie is not necessarily the most new thing that we've seen in Hollywood. But at least in the 90s and again, with Spike in the 80s and some of the other stuff, at least there was a shift to letting the creators at least tell some of the stories that they wanted to tell. And then it's like, okay, whatever this type of filmmaking was, now we're back on the other side of it, where now all of a sudden it's just, again, a type of film that is just people are making as well too. And again, I guess we could just do the research on, does this guy like grow up in Memphis? Did he? Hey, we should see as well too, because that would make it definitely very interesting here. I guess Indecent Proposal, like was Adrian Lynn, was he Gage or was he Robert Redford or was he Woody Harrelson? Let's see. Do we have a picture here? Is he Woody Harrelson? Oh, we don't have a picture. Hey, yo. Hopefully that doesn't mean there's a sketchy past in there for our guy. But what are we looking up here, chat? Hey, yo. Anytime, like we said, Demi Moore's on the screen. It's just memory wiped. It is what it is. If you want to reset our memory, just show us a picture of Demi Moore, and we're like, wait, what just happened? It is what it is. But, yeah, geez, I don't even know what we were going to look up. Oh, yeah, Hustle and Flow. Of course. What movie are we watching here, chat? Our guy, Craig. Oh, did I say Brewster? Craig Brewer. Ayo. Shout out. So, pretty good filmography for our guy. This is, the Poor and Hungry, I guess I'm not super familiar with, but had a couple of movies before Hustle and Flow. But then Hustle and Flow is his big breakthrough break. But you see him kind of go in a weird, starts to do the remake type stuff. And I guess, Katy Perry, part of me, I guess producer, I guess he didn't write and direct to this. But the Footloose remake, Legend of Tarzan, which I think is kind of a classic. You get Skarsgård and Margot Robbie, and there's, Tarzan, and it's some classic stuff going on there. And, Dolomite as well, too, I believe is a remake as well, too. Or just the film. Did they remake the film itself? Because I guess I haven't seen every 70s film, but I don't know if they just remade the movie itself or just recasted the character as well too. But again, going backwards with the stuff again, I'm not, it's a good thing to reprise that. Coming to America, the second one is, I guess, we're not going to necessarily be mad to dip back into that world as well too. I was excited for Beverly Hills Cop 4, but there is also a level of iconicness that maybe is tapped out with that movie because of I don't know there, but with just the timeline of those remakes and that type of stuff, or carrying on the legacy of a movie like Footloose, again, the bar is just super high, and I'm not necessarily saying that you shouldn't achieve that type of stuff. Untitled Snoop Dogg biopic. Here we go, Chad. We're back. Our guy is back. Yes, sir. This is what we want right here. Just kind of and Dolomite was a good project as well too. Not saying that, but I guess we need to put Black Snake Moan on the old watch list, because I was looking at this one earlier and I did see our guy Samuel Jackson. We need to just be like, okay, I guess watching every Samuel Jackson movie is a task, but we need to make sure that is something that gets accomplished as well too. But wait a second, where's this guy from? Virginia? Oh, okay, shout out. It is what it is. The son of a teacher, an executive. So, it is what it is. You're allowed to, I guess, make whatever movie you want to make. But it is kind of funny to see it move back to the other side of this, where, and again, I guess in the making process of this, I'm sure, again, having Singleton as influential as he is going to style it in a certain way. But it is also, again, it's like, okay, now you can really see just the influence has become a thing as well too, in a different way. And to go to Singleton's executive producing career as well too, if I'm not mistaken, this is kind of the one standout type of one. But there was another one that I needed to add to the watch list as well too. Wait, it wasn't a producer, or no, wait. Oh, I think that was for something else. Just the watch list is always being added up, chat. It is what it is. But, and I guess, we'll report back on Black Snake Moan and see how it goes. And, again, it's not like the craziest executive producing run as well too, at least in terms of the movies. I guess it's not producer only. The producer only role, yes, is what we're saying in that role, because again, I guess Boys in the Hood, of course, as his debut, the producer for that, and the producer for this movie as well too, another producer, Stephanie Allen, if I'm getting that name right, is, I believe, a major in character, and I guess I don't know who all the producers are credited on Boys in the Hood just yet. I guess we'll get that list memorized as well too, but just him in this role is, this is a good hit for him in this move as well too. And of course, one of the main reasons that this movie does live on is, the way a lot of movies do, but just the performances in this movie and of the cast is one of the things that, of course, you go back and read the reviews, and is one of the things that you just gravitate toward in the rewatchability of it. But that is one of the fun things about this movie, is it kind of was very well reviewed in the moment. as well too. And again, it's really going for in terms of the story stuff. Like, I mean, Terrence Howard's definitely working a job that you're gonna be like, oh, hey, we're working a job. The man, I mean, it's a, well, I guess, are we gonna say? But the man's definitely in a profession where there's gonna be certain ways you probably want to address the story. But there's definitely certain ways where you could also see the critics walking away from it and being like, yeah, this is too much. But it's like, no, just the gravity of the performances alone. It's like, yeah, this is enough to make this movie worth the watch itself. And for Terrence Howard, this of course comes at the time where he is starting to get his breaks as well too. And we didn't even mention the first scene in the movie as it was happening, but just him with Taryn Manning in the car, and he's just talking about it. And that is, and I think maybe one of the things that Singleton was seeing about this movie that he was really liking was maybe the writer-director combo that Brewer was, but just the style in which he's trying to tell the story, where again, within the scenes of the story, there's sort of some greater dialogue going on. And in the 90s as well too, you've got the Tarantino influence starting to that's like a full effect thing into the 2000s as well too. But that was also again a way that Singleton was going to be telling his stories, and the way that his movies were going to work was that there's going to be scenes where the guys are in the cars, and there's going to be scenes where the guys are in the front porches, and there's just going to be these dialogue hangout scenes where they're just they're going to be breaking down life and this type of stuff, and you feel that type of pacing in between the the various plot point type scenes in that type of way. And Terrence Howard, and that is, I think, in part where the movie can be up and down, is I think it's again, Singleton is just amongst the best as well too. Or again, a guy like Spike, who's going to be writing, directing. I don't think this movie is on that type of level in that A+ writer director well written type movies, but you are getting those really great scenes. And again, the performances of the people in the scenes themselves as well too. Terrence Howard carrying a big responsibility in the movie. They're able to provide a weight to those types of scenes that are great, in his ability to give that dialogue as well too, and then to go into the world where he is, some scenes he's turned up crazy, and some scenes he is, the hustling, trying to get a deal done type guy as well too, which was something that Ebert had said in his review, just in terms of his career in general, was his ability to just, mold his performances to just his characters, and for his abilities for his characters to stand out. And it is funny to think about, but when you hear about that type of description for that type of actor, like, you don't necessarily, again, it's just, I guess, our lack of knowing the names in the conversation, but he is not a guy that necessarily gets brought up in that type of way when we are talking about who are the guys that just have that diverse range of characters. And you think range in terms of a guy like Daniel Day-Lewis or something like that, or in just even in terms of amount of characters as well too. Like our GOAT Gene Hackman is a guy that who has there ever been anybody that has played more iconic characters than Gene Hackman? But just the variance in the roles, like he's bringing a difference to each role, but there is a uniqueness. Same word, but there is a extra level that a guy like Terrence Howard, and I think a certain level of actor as well too. Like, I think De Niro is in that for sure. Am I getting hot takey here? For sure. And you do get to a level with just any actor as well, and especially with guys from the past where, and I'm just saying that guys from it just depends, I guess, of where you line up in history, because there'll be future people that'll probably be saying this about guys. Robert De Niro next. For us it'll be like Robert Downey will be the guy for our generation. Whoever the Robert is for the generation. Robert Pattinson for the generation. The next generation will be looking up, and it's like when you know them as the characters before you know them as the movie character. Like, Robert De Niro is Robert De Niro before you know him as the guy in Goodfellas. I guess, in some cases. In some cases, maybe you watch the movies and you're shown the movies and shown the characters as you would kind of, in a way, as the conversation grows. But, again, a guy like De Niro, it's like, okay, I know he's De Niro before, as I'm knowing in watching his movies and learning about, his career. So there is always that he is just Robert De Niro in all of those movies. Like, you never got to just be like, okay, who is this? And I guess his Taxi Driver. Like, what was his notoriety? Like, going into Taxi Driver. Again, I don't even know the timeline. Or like, Pacino is like, I know that The Godfather was like super early for Pacino. So if not, his first major, because he had two. I was on his Wikipedia page. I was like, he was another one. I was like, we got to make sure to watch all the Pacino movies. Like, can we find Sea of Love pirated somewhere? And make no mistake, we definitely did. But it was like, okay, I think there was maybe like one or two roles before The Godfather. But it's like, okay, we didn't get to experience, Pacino. Just the rise of, oh, who is this guy? Oh, he's in The Godfather. He's awesome. Oh, that's Al Pacino, the guy from The Godfather. And then his career, oh, he becomes the guy from that thing. And then, he becomes Al Pacino. Like, you just are born and like, oh yeah, there's this guy that's this legendary actor. His name is Al Pacino. So I guess, again, the ability to, the moldability of some of the guys, I guess, for me, I guess I can't speak fully on some actors, like I'm saying, from the past. But the moldability of a guy like Terrence Howard is our Bob De Niro. Hey, yo, chat. I don't know if that's the point I'm making. But, a guy like Ebert was saying, there is a variety that brings rules. And I guess I'm saying, for me personally, that variety is that hits a little bit harder, like I'm saying, because again, for some of the scope of cinema history, for me personally, it is like, okay, this is that guy in this role. But regardless, again, where you're getting Terrence Howard in his career as he's starting to take off, because he does get, I think he gets does he get just a straight up Academy Award nomination for this? Yeah, the song gets nominated. Best original song. Yeah, best actor, straight up, chat. Ayo. Did he get a best supporting the year before that? I guess this is just going to be the best actors page here. So wait, let's just go back to Terrence Howard and see what we have for his career. But this is a crazy run of movies that you are getting him in at this point. Dead Presidents in Mr. Holland's Opus in 95. The Players Club in 98. The Best Man in 99. Ayo. Big Mama's House 2000. Shout out. But then in 2003, 4, 5. Yeah, we go Crash. He's in Crash. Ray. The Salon, I guess. Hustle and Flow. Four Brothers. Making a Get Rich Die Trying appearance. Idlewild in 06. I mean, he's cooking, chat, in the mid 2000s. He's cooking. But, Crash is... Does Crash win for Best Picture? Ayo, 1-3. Yeah, one Best Picture. Ayo, I don't know if Howard himself gets nominated. I haven't gone back and revisited Crash enough to be like, okay, what's Terrence Howard doing in Crash? But he is in this. Wait a second. Where's our Oscar accolades? Here we go. Oh, Oscar list of accolades for the film. Okay, I guess we gotta go one more level and see what we got. Oh, Matt Dillon got nominated for Best Supporting. I mean, I think he's the main supporting guy, if that's a thing. It got Best Director and I guess a Best Song as well too. Best Picture, Best Director. Did not win Best Director, but won Best Picture. Hey, yo, I guess we're not supposed to turn this into a 2006 look back. But I'm too curious, chat. I cannot help myself. Let's see what happened here in 2006. Over Capote, Good Night, Good Luck, Munich, and Brokeback Mountain. Yeah, we might have to go back and look at that year. Was Hustle and Flow eligible for this year? I guess 2006 would have been the 05 year. So, this is perfect, right? Wait a second. Took place in 2005. Does it say... so it's not going to honor 2006 if it took place in March 2006. It was like, okay, let's honor 2 months of film here. But, yeah, so 2005. So, wait, Hustle and Flow couldn't get a Best Picture nomination as well, too? Hey, yo, we need to go back and revisit. And... I guess do we go? Was the controversy that it got the win over Brokeback Mountain? Because I think that was probably the movie of the year that year. But just in terms of performances as well too, you're getting a best lead nomination with Terrence Howard. I don't know if the performances alone can carry this into the nomination. So Brokeback Mountain would make sense then, yeah, that it got the directing nomination. But then getting the best picture for Crash is kind of just a weird. It would have been, it's obviously it's like regardless of who won, the one that should have won it doesn't change that. But it's like, okay, why were they thinking Crash? I think we get the confusion there, where it would still make sense for Crash to win both and just for it to be a double disaster. Like, I guess that would just be more in line with what the Oscars would do, right? It's just get it wrong in all the categories. Ayo. But I guess I'm not necessarily the guy that's gonna sit here and hate the Oscars. I like the Oscars. Hey, hot take. But I guess we're not saying that everything about the Oscars is cool. But I like award shows. I like the idea of a competitive environment for this stuff. So the Oscars are that. So hey, it's what we got for now. But yeah. So Howard, I guess again going up against Philip Seymour Hoffman, Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, and David Strathairn. Am I getting that name right as well too, as Edward Murrow in Good Night, Good Luck? So this is honestly, it's about as stacked as you'll get for, performance. We could probably find a better year where we could get some top to bottom better movies. Because I guess shout out, this is, and I guess the Oscars in general, but this does get a little Oscar-y with Walk the Line, Good Night, and Good Luck, and Capote. Like, again, great performances, but I don't know if those are the only movies that I'm going to be getting to rewatch alongside Hustle and Flow and Brokeback Mountain. Like, I might need something else to break up the rotation than Good Night, Good Luck. But hey, maybe I just fall in love with Walk the Line, and then in like a couple years, like, oh man, just Rem's a real big Walk the Line guy. What's happened? It's like, well, he was only watching the movies from Best Leading Actor in the 2006 Oscars. But yeah, I mean, Terrence Howard against Philip Seymour Hoffman. On paper, that's going to sound like a Philip Seymour Hoffman matchup. But again, Terrence Howard is and Philip Seymour Hoffman's no, because he does have Along Came Polly where he is like really doing a different comedic thing. But that is important for his career in that way. And also he, RIP as well too. Like, his ability to expand on the diversity of his filmography, unfortunately, was just not able to, we're just not able to see that. But there is a little bit of this is Philip Seymour Hoffman energy in the role. And I guess maybe that's what I was getting at earlier, where there are still great actors, but there is a little bit of this is that guy in the role. And I'm trying to think of, maybe it's even a more difficult thing. So, I guess in some ways, again, Terrence Howard doesn't quite climb up to like the De Niro, Denzel level in terms of the notoriety and the industry, the commercial, whatever stuff. Like, he's probably not, a hot take, probably not in that A tier just in terms of all that stuff. But if we're talking about the on-screen ability of it as well too, and if we're just like, okay, he did again get the Oscar nomination for Best Actor in a Leading Role, so that puts him in that category. I guess here, does it say everybody that got nominated for that role? Like, Joaquin Phoenix is a good one. Does he walk the line, chat? But and he's right there right now, I think, with being famous enough to be just Joaquin Phoenix in any role. But he's also kind of aged in a way where there's a little bit of difference between younger Joaquin Phoenix and older Joaquin. And he still looks good, Chad, obviously. But it's the younger Joaquin Phoenix there's a little bit of a look there where his career kind of shifts across the time as well too. So wait a second here. I'm just wandering around. Let's see so this is going to be multiple nominations. I don't know if Terrence Howard, if he got multiple, 3+, 4+, multiple awards and nominations. Ayo. So not even 2+. It's I guess, a guy like Robin Williams, Will Smith. Will Smith definitely brings, Will Smith energy to the role. I might take that back on Gene Hackman, obviously, honestly. Ooh, Bardem. Bardem's a good one. Bardem can really get into can get you lost into a role, for sure. Like again, just listening back to a rewatchables pod, like they were saying this about Brad Pitt. I forget which one it was, but they were saying how you can kind of lose that effect with Brad Pitt in a role, and he is one of those guys where it's like, okay, that probably shouldn't happen. Like that maybe even levels up how good of he is of an actor. But even if we're going Ocean's 11, Clooney can be a little bit like that as like Clooney. I don't Pitt's probably a better actor than Clooney, but Clooney can get lost in a role for sure. I guess we should mention a scene in the movie as well too. While it's just flying by right now, we got. I guess who is the shout out? Should we know the lady singing in church? Chat, just an iconic church singing performance. Are we gonna get copyright striking if we stop talking and just turn this up real quick? Hey yo, we've got of course Terrence Howard tracking down Anthony Anderson, producing. I don't know what he's necessarily. Well, I guess he's setting the mics and stuff, making sure it sounds good in the church auditorium. But he is kind of set up like he's about to Kanye West sample flip this right here. So, and this is honestly one of, literally brings Terrence Howard to tears. This might have been a Terrence Howard might have actually cried type performance. Like he gets into that role as well too, where like he might actually, like the method actory stuff is sneaky there for him for sure. And I guess it is a lot of it as well too. He maybe hasn't had the movie in the 20 teens out. He had Iron Man in 2008. Obviously, he maybe hasn't had the 20 teens 2020 run. Yeah, he had the TV shows and stuff, but in the movie standpoint, we can go back and double check that to necessarily get him in the name. Because even Daniel Day-Lewis, I'm trying to think, Phantom Thread. When did I get years one in 2012? But yeah, 6 nominations. Like Phantom Thread was like 2019, so at least there's a conversation around him, for a different generation. A couple of years ago, his name's going to be just brought up again because it's just back in that conversation. But yeah, there we go, chat. The no Sean Moreno for our guy Terrence Howard, for our guy DJ. It finally happened. But again, right, I there's probably very few better singing in a church scenes. I'm trying to think, Whitney Houston and The Preacher's Wife. There's got to be a performance in there that stands out. I'd probably pick one over any other singing in a church movie, because I guess if we're just talking about singing in a movie, it's probably going to be Whitney Houston as well too. But singing in a church in a movie, so this is a little different. Where again, it's a practice run for the church singing. There's nobody there. Our guy, I guess, I don't remember exactly what the lead up is for that scenario. Did they say the day of the week? Is it like Sunday afternoon, getting ready for like a Sunday night ordeal, or Saturday the night before? Like is this like the start of Sinners, like walking in the night before and seeing what's up the day before? But yeah, so not actually performing in front of a church audience, a church setup per se, but still singing in a church, I guess. So I'm there is I was just trying to think, like there's the scene in John Wick where they go to the opera, but then the opera is it's a different setup. An opera thing is a different setup, and to be honest, again, like the operatic range, I'm not saying that, because opera singers may be better than like a church choir singer, then the scenes are worse. But the range at which an opera almost is supposed to operate at, it like there's an expectation there. Again, I guess it's all about expectation. So if you get an opera scene, you kind of expect somebody in the background. And again, not to say that person wouldn't go crazy, but it's a different setup and a different skill level and a different just thing that's supposed to be happening in general. Versus, again, you get a church scene, it could just be you could get a choir as well too. I mean, you could get a kids choir, worst case scenario, and then you have to like, okay, here's a couple of scenes in the movie where it's a kids choir. But yeah, actual solo, and again, I guess choir performance is different as well too. Church solo performance, it's got to be up there, chat. But yeah, either way, again, shout out, I guess, point being, shout out to our guy Terrence Howard. Underrated for sure on the all-time actor scale, just in terms of the ability. Like, Denzel definitely can get lost in a role. Like Denzel again is close where he's so famous that it's difficult in some ways not to watch a Denzel movie and think it's Denzel, but that's almost the start of every Denzel movie. Like that's how great Denzel is by the middle and just the end of the Denzel movie. You're just like totally just lost in the performance and totally lost in the story and what's going on. And you're like, oh wait a second, okay, well, that was Denzel in that movie. What was going on? But see, Nicholson, there's a little bit, and maybe again, it's just I'm probably more familiar. The Nicholson movie, I might go back to the most like The Departed or something like that. So it's not necessarily am I in? Again, I don't have speaking of the rewatchables. I don't know if that's even so that's a good Nicholson performance. I would disagree with that. It's again maybe it's just the amount of his performances that I've seen, but also he's just good in that movie. I don't know who else is going to be that crazy in that movie, and it's kind of fun. So yeah, but there is an element of it is just Jack Nicholson in that role as well too. So I guess we can go through this for every guy. We're almost there at this point. In some ways, Tom Hanks, Leo will get lost in a role for sure. The Bob De Niro one, I guess we'll just have to go back and rewatch the Bob De Niro movies. It is what it is. But Pacino, those guys are both super close in that, because if you think about it as well too, I mean, I'm not start getting real life here as well, but just the timeline of the actors that would be around, and not even just around, acting in movies, but even just around as well too. And not to say that everybody around is the actors that we need to have in conversation, but it gets you in conversation in a different way. And again, having made movies even recently as well too, both them in The Irishman a couple of years ago as well. So is Pacino's an Irishman, right? I think Pacino's an Irishman for sure. I guess I haven't rewatched that movie in a second, but Pacino's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so that's a movie this century for this decade for sure. I mean, Pacino made what, The Recruit this century, so he's been cooking in the 21st century. But yeah, again, those guys are about as famous, but also about as long a running of actors that we have around as well too, so they almost even transcend the conversation in this type of way. And I just can't put myself back in the time, like I'm saying, to necessarily have that with. But so I guess if I'm gravitating toward the people that are are providing that in the, so like a guy like, do I get more lost in a Christian Bale performance than an Al Pacino performance? But you could have that debate as well too. Like, is Pacino doing a version of Pacino, in every movie, versus Bale? There's a character thing that, Bale with the physical transformations, of course. There's a character thing that he gets into. But I guess, see, the De Niro 70s movies, I guess. Like Taxi Driver, is that the hot take? I guess, is that the De Niro movie that we don't rewatch enough? But, yeah, like, and I guess, is Taxi Driver on Tubi? Like, they just have Midnight Run and stuff on Tubi. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just keep rewatching that one. Or, Goodfellas is always like the first thing you see when you load up Max, when you got that on there. So I'm trying to think, what's the other, there's another one that I don't know why I'm not thinking about it, that I just watched. It's not Midnight Run. Oh, it's Heat. Heat'll be on Tubi. Yeah. I think it'll be on Pluto, but I will track down the Heat stuff, for sure. But I'm trying to think, like, him in Heat and him in Goodfellas. Like, I know, is this a hot take? Not to say that they are different characters for sure. Like again, just the characteristics. I mean, obviously, but he's responds with different things. Like, in Goodfellas, he's holding cigarettes and hanging out with different. It's a different sort of social vibe, and in Heat, he's again. So again, that's the credit to the actor that he's more reserved, and he's holding assault rifles or something like that. But it's still, there's still a Bob De Niro thing that you feel like. So maybe it is sort of that 90s-ish run as well too. Maybe, and also with him and Scorsese, you've got like him in Goodfellas and him in Casino. Like maybe there's a little similarity there in a way where just some of the movie stuff can feel the same and some of the world stuff can feel the same. So again, it's not necessarily, I'm saying, yeah, obviously I'm not even necessarily giving it as a hot take. I'm just trying to figure out where that lands, I guess, for me, in my mind. You know, Anthony Hopkins for sure will get you lost in a role. See, like, and Bradley Cooper, I guess, is, you know, like, De Niro up until recently also, I guess, I don't know if this is true, but he wasn't necessarily, I guess, he, as a Capone in The Untouchables, he's not in that movie a lot, but he's in makeup in that movie. But he doesn't do like a lot of makeup in a movie as well too. So again, a guy like Bale, but you know, I guess that goes to the credit for Terrence Howard. You know, to bring it back to Terrence Howard. That's right, Chad. We're still watching Hustle and Flow. Don't make no mistake. We haven't forgot about it. But you know, again, Terrence Howard is not necessarily undergoing the physical transformations and those type of things in his movies per se. It really is a characteristic transformation in the way he's acting and sort of the subtleties that he's providing. Because you think even a movie like Iron Man, obviously, where you go back to that movie, you know, he's the highest paid guy in that movie. I think even again with the run that he'd had, you know, a nomination for Best Actor. I don't know if Downey got nominated for Best Actor for Chaplin, right? So that was before or after Hustle and Flow. I think Chaplin was in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, yo, I guess I don't know exactly what year Chaplin was released, chat. That's, I guess, another Downey film we don't go back to quite enough. But, oh, this is his filmography. Well, tell us if he's nominated here. I guess it won't. So, wait, do we have his awards? Let me go back to, yeah, Downey's awards here. Let's see what the Academy has recognized. Chaplin was 93. So, yeah, a decade before Hustle and Flow. I guess he got nominated. But, you know, a different decade. And then, I guess gets nominated after Iron Man, of course, for Tropic Thunder. As supporting actor. Wins for supporting for Oppenheimer. Shout out. So, and Zodiac was like 06, 07. So this was, I guess, Hustle and Flow was not the turnaround for Downey. But in terms of the timeline for him also, perfect. I mean, yeah, 2007 for Zodiac. So you start to, I guess, I don't know, like, is he already cast for, I don't know how that casting, you know, lines up for him in Iron Man. But you get so, you know, but either way, you know, he's starting the career turnaround as that's happening as well too. So, you know, again, the legacy stuff, there's some legacy stuff with Downey going into Iron Man that is, there's some equal stuff there to Terrence Howard. But again, you know, Terrence Howard, regardless, is still if I remember correctly, the highest paid guy going into that movie. I guess, I don't know, outside of maybe Favreau, whatever he might have gotten to create that as well too. But you know, Downey is so good in that original movie that his performance is going to be difficult to top from anybody on screen. But there is a version of that performance from Terrence Howard and Terrence Howard is now at the point where he's writing lyrics. I mean, we got to lock in here, chat, because we got to talk about the songs. I mean, the lyrics they're great stuff. He's stapling the Skinny Black's CD flap cutout thing to the wall for inspiration. I mean, you've got to have your setup, and you've got to have your inspiration posters in the studio as well too. Is that what we're missing? A Skinny Black poster? We need to get a Ludacris as Skinny Black poster in the studio going forward, in honor of our guy. You know, I guess I was gonna say our guy DJ, but also in honor of our guy Ludacris, but in honor of, you know, Singleton and Hustle and Flow, just in honor of the universe. Ayo, chat. But yeah, there is a version of that performance where he could be trying to do too much, I guess, is what I'm saying. So, and again, I feel like I do revisit that one quite a bit. I have not revisited that this year, I guess. So it's almost August and I haven't watched Iron Man. What am I doing, chat? Hey, yo, gonna have to throw that one on tonight. Is that the recommendation for the sequel to Hustle and Flow, the Terrence Howard, to Hustle and Flow to Iron Man? Hey, yo. But he is able to play alongside of Downey. And again, it's like, okay, Downey is definitely the star of that movie, but he doesn't go, okay, I'm going to try to get up 25 shots in this scene and just take away too much from Downey. He goes to the level that he needs to at certain scenes. He's reserved enough to be the, to be the sidekick guy at times. And it would have been, of course, as has been talked about. And Cheadle is great as War Machine. And to be honest, as well too, I think it weirdly works out better for the MCU because War Machine. I honestly think like Terrence Howard. I don't know if you get trapped into the thing you need to do. And Don Cheadle's a great actor as well too, so I don't feel like you're like, okay, well let's not put in more scenes for Don Cheadle. But I guess I don't know if this becomes like a Terrence Howard creative thing as well too. I guess I don't know, going back remembering why he wasn't in Iron Man 2. But there is a version going forward where War Machine almost becomes less of a sidekick for Iron Man, whereas Don Cheadle can kind of stay that. And again, I don't know if it's literally like a presence thing where Terrence Howard kind of like sizes up next to Downey, whereas Downey is, of course, a little towerish over our guy Cheadle. It is what it is. Cheadle can act, toe for toe with Downey any day. But just in terms of the presence, standing next to each other, Downey, of course, looks like he could probably, well, I say win a fight, but Cheadle will throw a couple punches as well, too. I mean, as long as he's not, falling out of the sky with his machine, broken. But yeah, like we were saying, there was a mainstay thing with him, and there's an ability to merge into the role sidekick, main guy type wise to go across all this stuff. And in this type of movie as well too, you get really strong performances from everybody throughout this movie. But it is, as it starts, of course, a little bit of a smaller indie film. I think this was a film festival. I mean, I guess how many films are film festival films, of course, too. I think that's a pretty good way to launch a film. But this did start as a smaller film. What was the budget for this movie? We're just stuck on the Crash page. Oh, we didn't even talk about his run. So yeah, Crash, Ray, Hustle and Flow, Four Brothers, and Get Rich, Die Trying. So make no mistake, this might not be the last of those Terrence Howard movies that you'll be seeing on the Rib and Sam pod. But yeah, $2.8 million budget, probably $1 million of that for Terrence Howard at the time. $23.5 million at the box office, so good enough for sure. Definitely a hit. Has had a great run in the cables and in the repeats, the reruns, and all that different stuff. And again, got the critical acclaim as well too. But wait, does it say here? I guess production or release maybe. Hey, I'll pause. But well, yeah. Also, we should mention that as well too. At some point, we'll circle back when we can not just be like, oh, we'll throw this in and say what happened there. But it does look like here. I guess. Well, I don't even remember what we were looking up because I guess we should mention that as well too. That there were allegations made on the set from cast members to, or from production members to cast members, and there was resolutions as well too. Almost at any point, even now, still, if there's a resolution in some way, you're always going like, oh, what's going on there? I think, we always assume, hopefully going forward, that stuff, even if, again, stuff has to go into a resolution outside of just court, that stuff can get cleaned up in a good type of way. But just the fact that, again, something got settled in 2005 doesn't mean that something, it didn't happen, obviously, or that it doesn't mean that there aren't still effects and still things that have to be dealt with, mentally, all the different stuff. It doesn't mean that there still are ripple effects from that type of event as well too. So, you never want to just, as much as the movies are also about the, the products that are on the screen, it's like, well, there was a process in a real life and real time spent going into making the movies. And if somebody's, not just time making the movie, but potentially life as well too got messed up, just trying to make a movie, like that's, I mean, a terrible thing. And you don't want to, necessarily, the balance of that and then what the end product is obviously a difficult thing. I mean, it's difficult in any sort of field of entertainment as well too, not just movies, but for sports and for, I guess, just, you know, anything related to people in a way. But yeah, you want to make sure that the just that type of stuff is uh, recognized in the proper way for going forward to, of course, help clean stuff up, and looking back as a way to help looking forward be better, of course. But uh, if there is a way to, transition back into what hopefully could be an entertaining product, and you even say something like that as well too. There's just no way to try to balance those two types of things. It's terrible when the real life, when something like that, fun and entertaining, is ends up being a tragic sort of event like that, is just terrible. And well, I guess there'll be plenty of scenes as well too to break down the lyrics and break down the songs, and what became hit songs as well too, in a way, out of this album, or out of this movie. But yeah, again, our guy Terrence Howard getting a lot of love critically and in the awards and in the just for his career as well too. But like we were saying, his responsibility in this movie is right up there with what he is. Maybe for I guess you could probably say his best. Well, I guess we'd have to go again back through the discography and say what is his best performance. But it'd be difficult for this not to be his best. If we were looking at the NBA thing, you'd be like, okay, they made a little bit of a playoff push here. Again, they got some Oscar noms. It'd be like, okay, maybe he was first team All NBA one year, but it's not the best team that he was on. So I don't know if there was a better, I guess if we go back through his discography, like, is there a better movie that he was a part of? I guess does it just become better movie biasly, or is there it's like, is Dead Presidents definitely better than Hustle and Flow, or does it just depend on how you make the list? That one might be, honestly. I mean, Get Rich Die Trying is obviously the best movie that Terrence Howard has been a part of. Like, it could be Iron Man, honestly. Like, I would rank that movie higher legacy wise than maybe a lot of people would. And the movie, again, he was able to have a legendary TV run with Empire. The movie run at that time was not able to match it. I guess Prisoners as well, and maybe some of the smaller movies, the quality of those I can't necessarily speak for. Take Me to the River, a documentary film. It's like, Take Me to the River sounds like a film that might have won like 4 or 5 awards at one point. Showdown at the Grand, Skeletons in the Closet. Hey, so does he just read the title and be like, oh yeah, Take Me to the River? That sounds like an award-winning film. Oh wait, it's a documentary? I didn't realize that. But in terms of, again, what he is tasked with in this role. So I don't know what a good NBA comp for Terrence Howard is, but it'd be like a guy that had the run as a best guy, where you're like, oh man, again, like, he did get nominated for best actor. Like, he did take a team to the title, but maybe didn't have the consistent, I guess this is, the consistent playoff pushes year after year that help bulk up that legacy in the same way. And here's the whoop that trick scene, chat. Whoop that trick. Whoop that trick. I don't know. I mean, with ChatGPT, what is he cooking up in 2025 as the hook for this song? Because whoop that trick is one of those things that's like, it's kind of perfect for the movie. I mean, I don't know if there's a way to like rank tropes that we like in movies, but one of the best tropes for me personally is anytime that they have to create something else in the movie. If they have to create a book, or a song, or a book's a pretty common one, obviously, but a song's a good one, where you actually have to usually if you're creating a song in the movie, like you have to say a song. Again, a book, like if you're creating a book, you'll read out of the book, but you're never going to read like the whole book. Like here's, now we're going to sit down and read 300 pages of whatever book this person just wrote. But you're going to get a couple of scenes, a couple of pivotal stuff, but still a book still feels like it's kind of just movie dialogue and they're just repackaging it as a book. Like there's like, okay, we didn't have a clean way to say this, so we rewrite this. And I guess that could be anything, but any sort of extra form. But the songs specifically, or anytime stand up, anytime there's stand up in a movie, that's great. Or anytime any sort of jokes, if they're writing, I'm just trying to think, if there was like a writer room set up, or if there was a situation where they were writing, not necessarily, I guess maybe a writer's room for a book would be fun, because there's the writer's room in Elf where they're writing a kid's book. You think like if you're writing a sophisticated adult book, it's going to be a solo author like in a forest somewhere, just totally secluded. But if you're writing a kid's book in Elf, obviously you got to bring in, you got to call in Peter Dinklage and a whole writer's room to figure out what's going on the farm. But anytime you have to create something else in a movie, I love it. I'm not even saying like I love it if it's great. I just love when people do it and the attempt to create whatever that is, and just the alternate, like, at the end of the day, it's still like, here's a guy making a movie trying to write a rap song or whatever, and maybe I don't like it to be too good. Maybe if it is too good, then you're like, it is what it is. But like, I'm thinking like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where they have the play and they're like, okay, we're getting 2 or 3 songs. It gets another sort of song situation. So maybe it is specifically those two things, stand up or music in a movie, or like a biopic is different as well too, because maybe you could write some original songs, but you never, or you would expect them to run back some of the hits from whoever is in the biopic. And there is a separate category as well too, where bringing back Whitney Houston. If you get somebody like Whitney Houston creating original music for a movie, then it's a little bit different as well too, because she is an artist in that way. So it's not necessarily her stepping out of what's different. But if it's like, okay, now we have to have Terrence Howard writing rap lyrics, and I almost wonder how much of the stuff was improvised from Terrence Howard. I don't know if Terrence Howard credits himself for actually thinking up Whoop That Trick, or if it was in the script itself. But it's proven a hit because it's lived on. Like, guess what? You know what? If it wasn't clever, this movie would have sucked. We would have been like, yeah, this is lame and this is lame, and also the hook that that's lame as well too. Just it's forgotten about. Nobody ever talks about it again, and then maybe they try to make a version of it in 2007, and that one becomes a classic. But no, this movie became the classic, and Whoop That Trick lives on. I mean, even just a couple years ago, we'd have to have Sam call in and explain what the history of Whoop That Trick was again, because I forget exactly why the Grizzlies. There was something about the Grizzlies-Warriors rivalry. Somebody said, because it had something to do with that Ja in the West quote, I think as well too, or that was just the time where the Grizzlies were just ripping off quotes, and Dylan Brooks was probably a part of that as well too. But Ja himself, we're good in the West, we're fine in the West, is iconic stuff from our guy Ja. So I forget exactly what the timeline is for them introducing that back, but it felt like it's gone away. And to be honest, I don't know why they had to introduce that as a thing. I don't know, and maybe I'm just not as locked into the Grizzlies game-to-game stuff in general. I mean, it's not even a maybe. I'm not, and I don't want to be, because Grizzlies fans, we're sneaky rivals, Spurs and Grizzlies. It is what it is. But we've got some hard feelings. Pause. Whoa, we've got some anger feelings for. Maybe there's some early playoff exits in the 2010s, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like that could be a chant. That should just be a chant. Like if the Grizzlies, or college football, like the Memphis college football team, we've got all of these chants. Everybody in college does a chant at all these games. We can't get the Memphis college football or college basketball schools. Penny Hardaway couldn't get them going. Whoop That Trick. Like, that's the biggest loss of the whole Penny Hardaway, James Wiseman era. It's not even that Wiseman played only 3 games. It's that they weren't getting him back into the Whoop That Trick as a chant or as a song as well, too. But just one of the all-time great things that is written for the song. And I guess they did also get, of course, there's a 3-6 Mafia rendition of the other big song from this movie. It's hard. Well, pause. It's hard out there for a pimp. Hey, yo. And, now that I think Terrence Howard in 2025, the double entendres that are unlocked are extra crazy. I think they were definitely there in 2005, but they're maybe a little bit, pause culture reignited in, I guess, maybe 2023, 2024, but I feel like he's more aware of working those in to make a hit. Or, he's trying to mellow out to get some radio play as well, too, which is another great scene. I feel like Terrence Howard definitely improvised those lines, which is one of those things. I don't know if that's sort of a 2005 thing about this movie, but I do feel like that is the conversation around that is still exists, where maybe, and to be honest, how you clean up a song in a way as well, too, does matter. I think it matters less because songs can get so popular on streaming, and it's like, okay, well, at some point then it has to cross over and play, like, if Not Like Us is playing on the radio, then anything can, it's like, okay, well, what can play on the radio at this point? But I was like, it's Not Like Us the worst song, but you have to say, obviously, that one is taking a couple of different directions. I don't know if they were playing, maybe Meet the Grams. I don't think they were playing Meet the Grams on the radio. That one might just be sticking to the the Spotify playlist at this point. And again, just the radio culture of getting a song popular now, it is more it's not really a radio thing. It is kind of the playlist thing. Like, you kind of want to get in the Spotify playlist, you want to get in the Rap Caviar or whatever the version of that is for the different genres. But now there's still that competitiveness for those slots, but now again, you don't have to necessarily work your song in a certain way where it's like, oh, we need you're just kind of like, we need a hit song, but it's not like, okay, we need the Rap Caviar recipe for a song. Like, there could be a recipe where you're like, okay, this is the genre of, the sort of subgenre of hip hop that's popular at the time, and there is obviously if you have a Kendrick feature right now, you're probably going to get on the Rap Caviar playlist as well too. Like, there are ways to hack it in the same sort of way. I'm sure there's still, the formula for making a hit song in terms of the structure of hooks and verses and all those different things are still applying in that sort of way. But just in terms of the idea of Anthony Anderson being like, you can't address those topics on a song because the radio won't play it, I do feel like maybe that is a conversation that is a little bit different in 2025 in that way. But are we just stopped on the Terrence Howard? So now that we've called out Terrence Howard's legal issues and past life trauma properly by just stopping there on the Wikipedia page, we could have hovered over his awards and his his accolades, but it is what it is. Sometimes the scroll gets stopped, and it's on the page as well too, so you can't be ignored. But again, his importance of the amount that he has to work in on this movie is he's carrying a lot of heavy lifting. He is really the only, like, there is like Anthony Anderson, there is supporting, Taraji P. Henson, Terry Manning, they are supporting, but there is nobody. He's kind of he goes, again, as he works around life, he is kind of going scene from scene, and these people are in the different portions of his life. Like, Anthony Anderson will follow him around a little bit, like Terry Manning will follow him around a little bit, but there is a separation where Terrence Howard is the through line, and again, does a lot of heavy lifting in this movie that is standout for his career in that way. So he is awesome. Taraji P. Henson, we got to mention her as well too, because they of course go on to play together in star together, we should say, in Empire for I guess however many seasons that show ran on. Again, we just don't watch TV shows, so that one would be at the top of the list to watch. And of the TV shows that we have, that is one of the TV shows that we have seen, because it is on our accidental list there, because for a while, I don't know if it's still on Tubi. I guess if it is, for some reason, Tubi has taken it out of our recommendation or whatever. But there was a while where it did not matter what movie. I mean, Tubi does a good job of just totally disregarding similarities for the next recommendation. Like, if you start a movie on Tubi and then fall asleep and then wake up the next morning, like, you will be in a completely different spot. The other day, I don't even remember what the movie I started was, but I remember waking up to Hotel Transylvania 3. And I think it was like, okay, I don't know what the walk of recommendation movies was from, like, New Jack City to Hotel Transylvania 3. But somehow Tubi got there. And there was a while where every time we would just fire up the Tubi movie to fall, the classic Tubi fall asleep movie, we would wake up and Empire would be playing. So Empire, between, falling asleep to the NBA and watching Supernatural, the TNT version of that, because that is the thing about ESPN. Like, it's great to fall asleep to a game to ESPN and wake up to SportsCenter. I mean, waking up to SportsCenter is obviously iconic. But if we're talking about waking up to movies, that's not SportsCenter, or TV shows, I guess. In this case, it's not SportsCenter. So, well, I guess if we're talking sports TV shows, it is, but not a scripted one in that type of way, obviously. So, Supernatural, I think, or is it Charmed? It may be Charmed. I think Supernatural is the one that's on in the restaurant right now. It'll be like, that's the one that's kind of the whatever time it is on. But Charmed is the early one where if you wake up after the games, you get charmed, maybe, or maybe that's the one. I don't know. I guess what it still is, but because now with HBO Max, you just fire up HBO, and then now all of a sudden, just you get your event has ended when you wake up, or your TV's just timed out, and it's what so much more disappointing. Bring back cable just for the. I want to wake up, and I don't even like this show. I just want it to be on, but I just like it because it's on. But again, Charmed and Empire are the two shows for that, because Tubi also has that mix. I guess. Again, like anything has that mix, but Netflix, I feel like, has never sent me into a TV show. There's actually this, now that I think about it too, there's this other TV show, or not this other TV, there was this movie for a while that kept queuing up, and maybe there was another TV show similar to the movie, but the movie was this, let's see if we can find it here. It was Henry Fonda and Lucille Ball. Hey, yo, this is a wild cut from Tubi. Tubi is like, maybe somehow Tubi knows I'm the only, person in their mid-20s that would even like wake up to this movie and be like, oh, that's Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda. Obviously, I didn't know what the movie was. But for the people itself, the fact that I might even be able to know the title as well too by scrolling through the list. But it's some sort of Brady Bunch style. Lucille Ball has a bunch of kids. Henry Fonda has a bunch of kids, and then they try to make it work. And I think it's in like they try to make it work in like a sweet way, like it's a real sweet, Oh, here it is. Yours, Mine, Ours. There was a run. Yep, here we go. Henry Fonda. Oh, stars Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda. My bad, Lucille Ball. Could have been the bigger star for sure. I mean, Henry Fonda, major movie star, but Lucille Ball's run on TV. I mean, I would not be surprised if she was a bigger star for sure at the time. But yeah. You got the two couples with, I think they just like supersized it. They're like, okay, well, instead of 6 kids, they each have 6 kids. So I think they maybe each had like 9 kids. Does it say how much? Yeah, Frank has 10 kids. Helen has 8. 18 kids. So maybe, I think actually 68, the Brady Bunch was probably like, okay, let's take mine, or yours, ours, mine, and tone it down a little bit. And just keep it to 3 and 3. But yeah, there was a while where it did not matter what movie we were playing. Maybe it was like we just kept playing the same movie, and then I don't know. But it was like we're always just waking up to Henry Fonda and Lucille Ball around a dinner table. So again, that's a movie. But for TV shows, Empire and Charmed, well, sneeze, maybe. No, it went away. Oh well. It is what it is. It'll be back. But yeah, so shout out to Henry Fonda. Did not make an appearance in Hustle and Flow. When did, R.I.P. the legend, Henry Fonda, his film career to 82. What was the legendary life of Henry Fonda spanned 1905 to 1982, so would not have been able to make it to Hustle and Flow. I guess he would have been 2005. He literally would have been 100 years old in Hustle and Flow. But I guess Dick Van Dyke is still kicking it around right now too. So if Dick Van Dyke is in a remake of Hustle and Flow, then maybe Henry Fonda at 100 years old could have been in Hustle and Flow as well too. But yeah, so I guess we're in a little bit of a walk from that. But yeah, is not necessarily in again, not I'm gonna say, well, the movie of the Pimp term rapper is not a movie that they necessarily made a ton, but we haven't really gotten the, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one to do. Like, pause. If you're going to, hey, what are we talking about? If you're going to do the rise of the hip hop star as a story, like, you do have to write hip hop stuff as part of it. So that, I think, is probably a big reason why that stuff hasn't necessarily continued. I mean, the idea, I guess, of somebody having a mixtape, and maybe it's a little bit more of a side thing as well too, but again, the idea of this is a movie of people pursuing that, I feel like, and maybe just the rewatchability of that type of stuff as well too, hasn't necessarily picked up in the same type of way. But again, this is a combination in 2005 of a couple of things where you're getting sort of you're getting, again, the Singleton and those type of movies in the 90s, but you're also getting in the turn of the 2000s, like with 8 Mile, and you get Rich Die Trying later this year, you're getting the story of the actual rapper, sort of that rise story as well too. But again, it is the actual rapper themselves telling that story. Whereas Terrence Howard is, again, the actor and the writer, and they are kind of making their own thing. Where again, if you have Eminem and he's telling the story of, again, that's like Eminem sort of telling the story. It's a different thing. But even if you casted Eminem, like, you were probably going to find a way to get him to write a song, or maybe that just becomes working in with the casting as well too. It's like, hey, we need to cast a guy that is also going to make music as part of this project as well too. But I like the idea of just having an actor do that as well. Like, both sides of it are great. I would love watching both sides of it, because I love, again, just as a hip hop fan, you love seeing your favorite characters or characters from that world cross over into these other venues. So anytime they're going to be starring, it's going to be fun to be like, oh, he's bringing the artistic skill first. And then, oh yeah, like, I mean, Pac, you could argue Pac brought both skills first in a way. I guess he was, of course, breaking into both industries at such a young age, that, and kind of working at both simultaneously as well, that he could have been considered either one first, but he's obviously honest. He's a musician first, if you think about him. So maybe that's the winning thing at the end of the day. But just in terms of the approach to the careers, like, he was, again, could go back and do the whole timeline thing, but it feels like he was because he was working on his first album in Juice. Like, Juice came out before his first album, right? So maybe he was an actor first. It is what it is. Well, I was gonna say the first Drake, but I was gonna get canceled. So we're pro Pac, so we don't want to say that. That's gonna get us targeted. But yeah, I just like seeing I like seeing both versions of it as well too, of the actor in this. And Taraji P. Henson on the mic is, if we're talking the actor pound for pound, I mean, Taraji P. Henson is probably the best actor in this movie, pound for pound. Again, I think peak of their powers, Terrence Howard is obviously a great actor, but the careers of Henson, and just, I think her ability as well too, is a little bit more than Terrence Howard's. But you see her ability to bring the acting in the scenes and then actually crush it in the singing performances is a great thing to see. And then you get a little bit more weight in some of those scenes, potentially as well too. Or like we're saying, Terrence Howard may not quite bring the same mic performance and all the different stuff, but in the scenes in the cars, and in the scenes where he's talking, and in the scenes where he's having to just be an actor, you're getting an Oscar level performance in some ways. And I guess we could go back and go through the 2005 year movies. And it seems like a weird year with some of the other movies nominated that year as well too. And maybe a weird year for who we had as actors at that time, because again, you still have, like, the guys that you mentioned, Pacino and De Niro are still, of course, definitely operating. But some of your 90s stars have kind of switched over at this point. Like, what's Will Smith doing in 05? He's got the Men in Black franchise, but he's kind of franchised, I guess, at that point. Like, he's not necessarily making, Enemy of the State and Independence Day and the great solo movies, even though those are kind of the same type of movie. But then I guess I'm just kind of spitballing. Like, I don't really know what was going on in 2005 for it to be kind of a interesting movie here. I guess here, let's see what we got for the box office for 2005. Can we go 2005 in film and see what we get here? The top 10 grossing movies worldwide. Oh, Austria? Do we want to look at Austria just to see what we got? Canada? Meet the Fockers. Okay, wait a second. This is all the #1 films. So what happened to the top 10 list? Did I just need to scroll down? Okay, yeah, here we go. Harry Potter, Goblet of Fire, Revenge of the Sith, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, War of the Worlds, King Kong, Madagascar, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Batman Begins, and Hitch. So there's some lovable ones in there. I mean, War of the Worlds, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Hitch, and even Batman Begins. You know, obviously you don't need me to tell you that I'm going to defend the Batman franchise here. And, you know, I'll defend Revenge of the Sith as well, too. Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, solid movie. For sure. Like, this is a solid pause. Like, this is a really good list of blockbuster movies, but it's not the best it's obviously not. This is definitely like a B tier list of blockbuster movies, for sure. Batman Begins, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, War of the Worlds. Again, all fun rewatches. You're not going to be disappointed if you're like, oh, man, I'm stuck with the 2005 blockbusters. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Revenge of the Sith. I guess, hey, that works for me. But make no mistake, you could definitely find some better years. Like, what happens if we just go to 2006 real quick? See what happens. Cars? Okay, never mind. 2005, way better. We got Casino Royale, so that might be the best movie between the 2 years, honestly. Just in the top 10. I think that's pretty easy, honestly. I guess Mr. and Mrs. Smith is pretty good as well, too. I guess in terms of movies, and Batman, like, I love watching Batman, so. Mission Impossible 3 is a fun watch, but Casino Royale definitely crosses both thresholds, I think, pretty well. Dead Man Chess, Pirates of the Caribbean, Da Vinci Code, #2, Ice Age, Casino Royale, Night at the Museum, Cars, X-Men Last Stand, Mission Impossible 3, Spider-Man, Superman Returns, whoa! And then Happy Feet. So 2006 was somehow worse. I guess the mid-2000s just continued to go downhill. And again, Hustle and Flow was not a box office success at all, and not in a bad way. You know, it was definitely it was a box office success. It wasn't a blockbuster success, I guess, is the better way to say it. I mean, I don't know, who's the guy that just pops up for a scene here? Doesn't even say a word, but Terrence Howard has to ask him to turn the music down. I mean, this guy's like just where's this guy been the entire movie? Do we need 2 or 3 more scenes with the neighbors? Ayo. But, oh, well, pause. It is what it is. But, and we didn't even mention the producer that they brought in as well, too. Of course, you got to bring in your little unassuming producer that you don't think actually is going to be knowing how to flip a beat, but can actually do it. Oh, Taraji P. Henson, just totally shocked by how she sounds in the mic. I mean, they were a little worried at first, of course. I mean, the thing is, they're hustling, chat. They're trying to get to the top. So maybe it's not totally unfair that Taraji P. Henson might take a couple of takes to get this down. But, you know, they were definitely pressuring her to get it first take as well, too. So, you know, you got to get this hit out by the end of the day. But it is catchy. And the other song, like we mentioned as well, too, they got a 3-6 Mafia version of the It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp. So, I don't know if 3-6 Mafia was also involved in Whoop That Trick. To be honest, I would not be shocked. It doesn't necessarily, like, if he had AI in 2005 and asked it to, you know, think of a song in the style of 3-6 Mafia, like Whoop That Trick might have actually been generated. But and I guess actually this is the song that she sings is the Pimp song, right? She's not on the Ayo. She's not on the Whoop That Trick. Do we get a Taraji P. Henson Whoop That Trick remix? Maybe we missed out, chat. Just a Taraji P. Henson Hustle and Flow album, honestly. Did we get a name for his demo tape? I'm trying to think. Have I just missed that? Or does he just call it? I think because it's referred to, of course, most of the time as the demo tape. So shout out. You know, our guy Ludacris hasn't even popped up yet at this point. He is a latter half of the movie edition. Of course, again, his presence is in the movie beforehand as they are trying to build the demo tape to bring to him. But the appearance of him taking over the show as an actor is something that is still about to happen as well too. So we are excited for the performance of the actual hip-hop star, and I guess in the movie is the actual hip-hop star himself as well too. So it makes sense that he would get cast in that role. But the producer, not happy, chat. You know, of course, he's he he needs the studio to be perfect, chat. So they're gonna make some upgrades. It is what it is. Do we have to take another break, chat? Hey yo, we got to take a quick break, but we actually have to take a quick break. So don't go anywhere, chat. Hustle and Flow is still powering on in the background, and we're still following along right after this. Testing one. There we go. We are back, chat. I skipped it ever so slightly because I wanted to see the name of his demo tape. I just couldn't help myself, chat. He did just write on the tape DJ's demo. So there is no name for the demo tape. You guys know what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to go cook up a name for our guy DJ's demo tape. Even though, to be honest, his name is DJ. A little on the nose, but DJ's demo is not bad. There is a good ring to it, though. Again, it is a little basic, but I should mention this as well too, which was another reason, another thing that I was saying I should have said about these rise in hip hop type stories is another reason why it's cool that maybe we should sort of have more of these as well too, would be the settings that you get are the ability, you just have the ability to go into these different cities, and that's what's fun about this one as well too, is the Memphis setting for this story. So the story is, again, it's a smaller story just based on the budget and all that stuff, and it is contained to some of these various sort of settings where at times, you know, again, in the house and in certain, you know, in certain environments, you know, again, you could be anywhere in the house. It could be in any city, but there is times as well too where the Memphis aspect of it does make it feel a little bit unique and does give it a different sort of vibe to the story. And, you know, in some ways, again, early 2000s, like you have The Wire going on in Baltimore and, you know, other of these just areas outside. It's like, okay, outside of New York and LA, like, are being explored for these stories. But again, it doesn't feel like we're going into these other sort of cities in that type of way. Where again with 8 Mile, you get a Detroit movie as well too, but that makes that cool in that setting. So like it just feels like, especially now with the game even being more just more popular and has continued to pop up, and the scenes and cities have continued to, you know, be strong, or the legacy just in general has continued to just continued. It does feel like there is an opportunity to go in and tell these stories and just have it set in these different environments, in these different types of ways. Because you think about, you know, a movie like this set in Houston, could it hit a lot of the same sort of arc, you know, heroes rise, hero for our guy, yeah, DJ, it is what it is. He's a hero in some people's minds, but you know, the journey that the protagonist journey that you could take in this movie could definitely be had in a lot of, you know, Philly. You could have a movie in Philly, St. Louis. You could have a St. Louis type movie, but you could, as I'm saying, the cities, you think about the aesthetics that could be had in each of those cities, and the extra skyline life and big city moments that you could have in a Houston vibe, or the cold grittiness, you know, the extra cold sort of, you know, bare, just sort of this. Shout out to Philadelphia, but you get what we're saying, like just those that side of Philadelphia that you can tap into, and that's only part of Philadelphia, but there's extra sides of the scenes that can be tapped into. Pause. You know, for these type of stories. So, you know, maybe I just need to do, again, it's some of the new stuff is just me needed to do a better job of keeping up. And it is, you know, again, with being told in some TV shows and stuff as well too. But, you know, as always in a movie stuff, and it is always just the, you know, how much of the middle movies are being made is always a conversation as well too. But this, you know, being that kind of independent-y type film, I think, you know, Singleton himself might have financed a lot of this, if I go back and do the research as well too. I don't remember exactly, but, you know, again, it being more in that independent vibe means that there is a path for these stories to, you know, again, it's not just the experiences being told in the stories, but the stories being told in this type of way, hip hop being at the center, the story being told about a rapper. I mean, we got the movie with Denzel and Spike where that's going to be a music mogul hip hop sort of like there's going to be elements of that, but I haven't even really watched trailers for that because I just wanted to just totally go in blind for the movie and just experience it all in the theater. But the actual story of that, because again, I think it's more using that to tell a thriller story versus from because I guess I've read like barely a little, so I'm not going in totally blind. I know what it's about a little bit. I guess I know what the rules are. I've seen the IMDb page for it, but that's about the extent that I've tried to see. Again, even not watching the trailer on the page, trying to be disciplined there. But I think it's using it more to tell a certain type of story instead of being like, we are telling this story. Like ASAP Rocky is going to be in that movie. Like, I guess I'm already projecting ASAP Rocky out to be a good actor, but you could definitely see an ASAP Rocky type movie where it is ASAP Rocky, just him being the hip hop, the guy starting off and him trying to get the tapes and all that different stuff. Like, I don't know if you can again, are you remaking this movie with every plot point in 2025? But the rise and fall of this story is some of the stuff, because even Singleton himself, the rise and fall of the rise and fall, I guess, he does, more of the rise and setback of the artist in this movie. Though in some ways, maybe it helps him out. But a little extra validation for our guy DJ at the end of this. But the story, I guess, of the hip hop artist, if I'm remembering, it's not necessarily something he directly told in his movies. It may be elements of stories that he has told, but that's obviously not what Boys in the Hood is about, or Higher Learning, or Poetic Justice as well too. So or even Four Brothers. I guess is our guy Paul Walker trying to get a mixtape off in Fast and Furious 2? I don't exactly remember. But Shaft, Rosewood, ayo. Like, Rosewood is maybe the one we don't go back to a lot. What is Rosewood about? Yeah, so probably not a lot of hip hop in that movie. That's for sure. But again, it's not something that he told in the movies in this type of way. So this actual story being addressed again by him, or and we got a couple other versions of it in the 2000s, but it's not necessarily something that has lived on as well too. And I get, how much I guess 8 Mile did make quite a bit of money at the theater, I should say. I don't think Get Rich Die Tryin' was necessarily the most box office successful. Yeah, they had a $40 million budget on that movie. This movie would be great if it was that type of movie where it was this $5 million budget, made $40 million at the box office, kind of a cult classic type hit. And I think 8 Mile, the box office success of that, they chased it pretty quickly. Maybe trying to retell some of these stories in that type of way. Yeah, $41 million for that, $242 million at the box office. Obviously, 2002, a crazy year for our guy Eminem. But even with streaming as well, and maybe everything does have, it feels like the thrillerification of stuff is definitely very intense right now. Like, if we're telling, again, using hip hop as a story, the thriller elements definitely seem to be very involved. I don't know if that's just sort of a Netflix thing as well, but you would never see, or I guess you should say never, but we just haven't seen Hulu have that original yet, or it hit in a major way, or I just haven't necessarily gone in to see what Hulu has made in the last couple of years to see if they've made this type of movie. But the rise of a hip hop, and I guess again, Atlanta as well too, is a show that is definitely in this type of, there's definitely in this type of lane. But it as a movie is, I only want to watch 2 hours of it. Hey, yo, chat. But I don't want to see 8, however many hours of TV. I don't remember exactly how many episodes of Atlanta is. For TV shows that I have watched, chat, I have sat down and watched a couple seasons of Atlanta. We did throw that one on the TVs. But I don't remember how many episodes are in each season, so I don't remember exactly how many hours of Atlanta there is. But if there's 12 to 15 hours, just throwing out a number for a TV show, I guess I'd rather watch for 90-minute movies, 45-minute movies, like a couple of 45-minute movies different. Like again, I don't necessarily want to watch Hustle and Flow 2. Not that it wouldn't be cool, but I'd rather watch Hustle and Flow and 8 Mile and Get Rich Die Trying than one great TV show. But again, if you make one great TV show, then you make one great. So we get the math of the money behind why they're doing what they're doing. Because then from a studio, you don't have to make 3 movies. You just make one TV show, and if it's good, it's good. Again, it's not even it's a studio, but it's a streaming service. So since you're not releasing things in theaters anymore as well too, and people are watching it at home, you're not, you get to have those storytelling things where it's like, okay, yeah, the episodes themselves are shorter, but we have 8 hours to tell a story over the course of a season if we need 8 episodes, because we don't have to necessarily, lock the people in the theater for. And then it's like, okay, we're really getting crazy for a movie like 3 hours. We don't have to take up an afternoon of just having people sit in the theater. Like, you're going to have to, people come in at hour and 45 to 2 hours and 20 minutes is probably going to be a general range. And that is the time that you have to tell the story. So now that, again, it's been opened up this way, we get why this stuff is trending to TV over movies. But it doesn't mean that seeing a movie like this wouldn't be cool as well too. But we do need to cook up a name for his demo tape, or should we just ask it? ChatGPT, we need some advice. What's going on? Is it okay? Let's see what it says. Is it okay to? I guess it's gonna be like, okay, what does Reddit say? Remake Hustle and Flow in 2025. What is the best way to approach this, chat? Hey, yo, we might have to revamp some storylines. The core of Hustle and Flow, a man chasing his dream against the odds. For sure, chat, absolutely. Especially in a post-streaming TikTok. Hey, yo, I'm an old man, chat. A TikTok, I can't even say it. Hey, yo, a TikTok era rap culture. See, that is not necessarily, I don't know if I want to see a TikTok movie. I kind of want to see maybe streaming, but still, even into, I guess even still now, the album sales, it still is with streaming equivalent type stuff, but the album sale number, just that title, still does matter, even if the equivalation, the calculation of that is a little bit different. So trying to see a guy like trying to see Terrence Howard in 2025, like get Whoop That Trick popular on TikTok, like it's definitely fun. But I don't know if it's the movie that I want to see necessarily. But maybe it is the movie that you got to make. So, originally rooted in 2000 Southern hip hop, and you could if you're remaking it or a movie inspired by Hustle and Flow in 2025. You could keep it in the Memphis scene as well too, because the Memphis scene is pretty strong as well these days. So, yeah, representation opportunities. Filmmaker potential, why it might not be the move. Cultural time capsule, deeply tied to a very specific time in hip hop. Okay, trying to recapture "It's Hard Out Here" for a Pimp magic might not be dated, might feel dated or forced in 2025. I think that the idea. So if it's saying that it's the hip hop in that time cannot be. Like, we can't update that, and then we can't make a hit song. Like, I feel like those two things can be updated for 2025. Risk of inauthenticity, if not rooted in modern Southern hip-hop culture or told by people living the experience, it risks becoming a caricature, which maybe is a little bit where this movie suffers as well, too, at times, for sure. But, and I guess, we're probably not recasting, again, Terrence Howard in 2025. But again, it's not Hustle and Flow 2 as well. I guess, did we say remake? So, yeah, I guess in a remake, I guess that would be an interesting list. Like, who has starred in the remake of... Because people have, obviously, again, starring in, like, a reboot is different than... I guess, just telling DJ's story again in 2025. It'd be like, okay, what is Hustle and Flow 2? Where's DJ at a certain point, going forward? But yeah, social sensitivities. This would be maybe where we're rewriting some of this stuff in 2025. That is for sure. So, a not straight remake. Again, we're just reading what it says here on ChatGPT. So if the wording is not correct, my bad. But inspired by Hustle and Flow, the story of a Memphis female rapper escaping her situation, redefining her work through music. So it says cast someone like Doechii or Tierra Whack, but could we not cast Glorilla in this? Like, ChatGPT kind of cooking. Hey, yo, industry. This is the writers. They're suing for good reason here. Casting Glorilla in a 2025 Hustle and Flow. Is she, I don't know if she's a pimp in 2025. I guess, do we consult Glorilla about what we want the dynamics of her character to be? But if we're telling the story of the rise, which is the point that I'm trying to make, if we're telling the story of and again, I feel like there is a lane for, like, if you heard about this part of the story, if you're like, we're getting a movie about Glorilla is starring about the movie of a rise of rap, you'd be like, okay, there's kind of a lane for that now in 2025. We haven't been hammering this version of the movie over and over again where it feels like, okay, here's another rapper movie about this person trying to make it to the top and what their journey has been like. So a Glorilla Hustle and Flow. Hey, yo, can we build let's see. Can we build a 2025 Hustle and Flow? We just need to show a H and F. Hey, yo, a Flow. We just shorten it to the Flow, the Hustle, a Hustle type movie. Can we rebuild? Can we build a 2025 Hustle and Flow inspired movie? Or do we just go like a rapper rise movie? We'll just call it that. Can we build a 2025 rapper rise movie around Glorilla? This is going to be our star. And again, so this kind of goes against what we were saying earlier about casting an actual actor in it. So maybe we cast Glorilla in the Ludacris role as well too. So, it was saying bring in the hip hop person as the main character. I definitely understand that. And I would love to see Glorilla as a starring character in a role. But if we were trying to double check the box of have an actor and make a rapper rise movie, then, she would have to take the Ludacris part, I guess. But I do like her in the main role as well too. That could be pretty fun. The Big Glow? I don't know, chat. I don't know if that's the title for this. As 8 Mile times Raising of Victor Vargas times Hustle and Flow as well too. So set in Memphis. Glorilla, of course, authentic. I think incredible screen presence for sure. I guess we kind of get the beats of the movie. From the Bluff, Act 1. I kind of like that. Glow works a dead-end job. She's a neighborhood jokester and a low-key poet. After a tragic loss of a brother or a cousin or a close friend, so just a tragic loss, she turns to music to cope. TikToks go viral, but rents do. Her mom doesn't take it seriously. Her friends do, so it's bringing in TikTok. Uh-oh, chat. Do we have to rewrite this? Take out TikTok. Maybe she has a Spotify. She's like, well, I guess TikTok going viral initially. The thing is, it would make sense, obviously. And if people were... Again, talking about authenticity for the movie in 2025, if that was left out, that would be a major... I'd be like, okay, there's just... Somehow she gets popular without TikTok? Doesn't seem... not impossible, but doesn't seem like... It would just be a major path not addressed in the movie. Local producers often shady in Act 2. She performs hits on the road, so her traveling, I guess that does take a different turn for the movie, where... If it's her, hustling in the city, I guess both of them are kind of the same thing, like maybe some different venues, but her traveling is fun as well too, and maybe some different cameos in the different locations that you get, cameos as themselves or playing fictional whatevers. But maybe it is, like 50 Cent's cameoing as like the bar club owner in Atlanta. Or I guess, is she performing at a bar or maybe a little bit of a decent venue? I don't know. Like maybe a club again. Maybe she's not a stand-up comedian. I don't know. She's performing, like off in the corner in front of 40 people. But maybe she's in a club, couple hundred. Now you're probably a pretty good club at that point. So maybe I guess. Got 150 people in a club. It doesn't have to be the craziest club. I guess, population differences, chat, in in cities. It is what it is. You're like, okay, in our city, if it's 300 people in a club, it's probably one of the bigger clubs in the cities. But in some cities, if you got 300 people, you're like, what's this neat little club tucked away in the corner here? So, maybe 50 Cent, whatever the version of it is, maybe he's like the guy that runs the club. So again, he's not cameoing as 50 Cent, but still in the world, obviously. Runs, or he's like an exec at some point. Runs into an exec who only wants her if she tones down or sells sex appeal. So that could be some tricky storylines. We'd have to get some clever writers in and make sure to address that properly. And I don't, again, I'm casting 50 Cent in a role. I'm not necessarily saying we're casting him in a villain role. But betrayals test her circle. In Act 3, her real breakthrough comes not from a label, but from a DIY music video her crew shoots in the hood that goes mega viral. A hard choice between the mainstream path or staying independent? Okay, that could be an interesting debate for 2025, for sure. A conversation with Russ at some point. Russ flies in. It's like, hey, I heard what you've been doing. Lil Rel. It wants Lil Rel. At some point, so I guess I was gonna say we cast Doechii. See, obviously, so I was gonna say casting Doechii in the Ludacris role could work. I mean, it would work from an acting standpoint. It would be an interesting dynamic for her to approach. I guess in some ways she is, because she has more Academy. She has more critical success at this point. She won the award for best album over Glorilla. Was Glorilla's album nominated? Her songs got nominated, but for her to be the veteran would be kind of funny in that way, for sure. Because Ludacris in 05, of course, is still, you wouldn't call him necessarily a veteran of the game, but he is a little bit more, I think, along his career than where like Doechii and Glorilla are at this point. But let me double check, because I don't necessarily remember all the years for like Ludacris's albums as well too, and I don't know if he is chat. Luda. Okay, what's this? How you say it in the song? I think that's how you spell it. And he hasn't gotten into the Fast and Furious franchise as well too. So let me double check where this is at in his filmography. Oh, he's in Fast 2. So he's working with his work with Singleton, I guess, gets him into the Fast franchise. And I guess again, not revisiting Crash. He is in Crash. So they just recasted Crash as Hustle and Flow, I guess, in 2005. So what? Best Picture winner from the previous year. So I guess is that the way we can cast the rest of this movie? Glorilla in the cast of, and I don't even remember who won last. Oh, Honora? Mikey Madsen in this movie? Did that actually won for Best Picture, right? She didn't win for just best performance, for sure. Let's see here. Did that actually win for Best Picture? It's interesting, the cast, because again, we've had sort of the separation of the industry in terms of what they recognize, and not saying that quality, but in terms of mainstream and critical success. But it did feel like even if a movie didn't win, that the critical stuff didn't align for the Oscars back in the day, it did feel like the names in the movies were still all the big names again. And maybe it's the product of the time as well too, but even still a guy like Matt Dillon in this movie, where it does feel like, and maybe this is in some ways a credit to where the Oscars have gone over the last couple of years, but and Honora's a special, I guess. Here, let me double check and make sure I'm actually talking about the right movie. And I guess like Nomadland, yeah. So Honora did win, so that's a cast of newer people, for sure. I guess Oppenheimer, so that's the one. We're already forgetting about the Oppenheimer win. So we have to surround Glorilla and Doechii with the cast of Oppenheimer. So speaking of Downey's back. So Downey could be an exec, for sure. Oh man, and we should mention as well too, Terrence Howard just beating up Ludacris in the bathroom for. I mean, that's a brutal move. You find your demo tape in the toilet is not ideal, and especially, that's one of those things in 2025. You probably got tons of copies and files. Oh, and now he's just taking down the bodyguard, chat. He's totally lost it, of course. It is what it is. Terrence Howard, he's probably just improvising scenes at this point. But the the importance of the one copy is, I think, more enhanced in 2025. He's got the body, drag him right out through the. It's all of a sudden turned into a classic action movie. Singleton, he puts a little action scene in his movies for sure. There's gunfire and chases and stuff going on. I mean, Boys in the Hood, unfortunately for the worst. But in his other movies, he definitely works that in for sure. So, what was I saying about the cat? Oh yeah, so in 2020, I mean, you got a file on a computer and a file, you've texted it to everybody's got a file that you've texted it to, and it's uploaded into 4 drives, and then you don't even have, of course, a hard. The only reason you have a cassette copy is just for we're messing around and having fun. So, that you would have to find out you would go through the hacking into the exec's email and then finding your email that you send him in the trash. If you send him if you gave him a physical hard drive, which wouldn't be crazy, that'd be obviously a great way to pass out music. Or now it's a QR code. So if you handed him a business card with a QR code, how are the kids getting music out these days? You guys passing out business cards with QR codes on them? I don't think that's how it works. If you find out that the TikTok he watched was so bad that he threw his phone in the toilet, maybe that's the version of it now in 2025. But whatever gets you into that kind of rage to be, not even in the exec as well too, the rapper in this case for Ludacris. So wait a second, we were going for here real quick. We'll get back to the rest of the cast real quick. His filmography up until this point, yeah, I guess again, Crash, just a big film, is going to start unlocking those roles. But he doesn't. Yeah, so I was gonna say he wasn't in Fast 4 and Fast 3. Nobody's in Fast 3, so I don't even remember how they made that movie with no cast. But he's not in the reassembling in Fast 4. They add him back into the cast in Fast 5, and then Tyrese and stuff as well too. I'd forgotten that he was in Fast 2. I haven't seen Fast 2 in too long, chat. It was on Tubi there for a while, and for some reason I didn't watch it, and now it's just lost into the streaming world. I guess we'll update real quick and see. Let me double check. I guess this is probably one I could just pirate. If we could pirate Sea of Love, we could probably pirate Too Fast, Too Furious. Oh, it's on Prime. Oh, Grandma, she's gonna be getting a text. What's the Prime account? But or yeah, we'll just see if the same site that had Sea of Love has Too Fast, Too Furious. Cough, cough. But yeah, I forgot that he was in this one as well too. So it makes sense that they're reassembling parts of that team that O'Connor worked with in Florida, and just a Fast and Furious movie set in Florida. They should have gone back. And I guess do they go back? Brazil, Ayo, Florida in some ways. I guess in other ways probably not so. But in terms of tropic scenery, it is what it is. But yeah, so I guess we're a long ways away from talking about our guy Ludacris as well too. Wait a second. So when did word of mouth was 01. I was gonna say word of mouth was just before this. So he's got word of mouth. Oh, and Chicken and a Beer and the Red Light District as well too. So Release Therapy, which I think wins the Grammy, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. The record received Grammy for Best Rap Album. Yeah. So that was 2006. After inspired by the work of Terrence Howard on Hustle and Flow, he stepped it up in the booth and dropped Release Therapy. But yeah, again, his rise, of course, is he's already Ludacris at this point, and then again, kind of fades into with the Fast and Furious stuff. I guess fades into acting, but definitely becomes more prominent in his career. Where I feel like for people my age, and maybe again for maybe certain types of people my age as well too, where if you weren't listening to Ludacris music growing up, but again, 2001 to 2003 to 2001 to 2008 like I'm not necessarily queuing up the radio. I'm a little toddler kid at that point. So even anybody at that, I'm just not queuing up the radio at that point. So, or digging around to see what music's that. Again, we could talk about our time on music, but that's why, as we talk about with the big three, that they're important, and that's why people my age I think feel the same sentiment, is because when you start when you start having the independence for music, I guess is the point, is then, at least again in my own timeline, those are the guys that are starting to emerge and be popular in the big names, and that you start locking in on and following. So it would have had to have been Ludacris is on in the house, and I guess Ludacris was just not in our house when we were a little toddler kid running around. So by the time, again, if you're listening to Ludacris in that 2010s eras, again, 2011 is Fast Five. That's also Take Care and Section 80. So if you're locking in on the big three, but then locking in on Ludacris, you're probably getting introduced to Ludacris as an actor before you're getting introduced to him as an artist. Again, for some people. So there is that dynamic for how his career shifted over there. But at least in, and again, I don't know some of the other stuff, I guess, what was going on for his career totally. But, at least for that point, you have good film roles and good albums kind of all being around the same time. And obviously, his work in Fast and Furious, great addition to the filmography for our guy Ludacris. And really, again, filmography really makes it a filmography. Otherwise, it more becomes, remember those couple Ludacris roles? Like a couple of Ludacris movies? But, yeah, because what else is he? I can't even think of another Ludacris New Year's Eve 6? I don't know, chat. The Gamer? Maybe we just need to go back on Tubi and do the Ludacris search and see what happens. But his filmography is going to be in the list down a ways over the couple of guys that we mentioned before tonight. But, yeah, what were we saying? Oh, so we've got the cast of Oppenheimer with Glorilla and Doechii. So Doechii as the rival. So maybe that's the remake of is Glorilla versus Doechii with the cast of Oppenheimer. Soundtrack executive producers Tay Keith, Hit Kid, and Juicy J. I mean, I guess Glorilla as well too. Might as well. I mean, if we have Doechii and Glorilla, do we have to pay for Tay Keith and Juicy J and Hit Kid to be flipping tracks on this? Well, too. I guess we need actual producers at some point. But why it matters? The new blueprint for the rap rise shows a city, Memphis, that's rarely centered in Hollywood. So bringing Memphis back would be cool as well too. I'm a fan of that. But it would also be cool to have a different city. Is this our chance to do a Big X the Plug movie? Whoa, Big X the Plug in Houston? It's like Big X the Plug and Travis Scott, and maybe we've already seen the Migos in Atlanta as well too. And the Migos as a group is definitely connected there for sure. But is Offset, where's Offset from, chat? Is Offset not from, he might be from Atlanta, I guess. I don't know. But okay, he is from Georgia. I guess they're all, Atlanta based. I don't know why I was thinking that there was a Houston connection. I guess just because of the work that they've done with Travis at this point. So it could be a Travis versus Big X the Plug movie for sure. But Glorilla versus, do we have another Memphis rapper? We might have to save Doechii. Again, if we're being selective with our castings for some of these movies, we might have to save Doechii for another role. Do we bring in NLE Choppa? NLE as the rival? NLE Glorilla in the cast of Oppenheimer. Is that our movie? What other Best Picture winner can we pair this cast with? Let's see. And we always need to, of course, remember R.I.P. the legend that is John Singleton. But let's see if there's another. Because we could, Shape of Water could be an interesting cast as well, too, if we really wanted to get wacky. Nomadland? Just to get Frances McDormand could be kind of fun. I don't know. She's cooking up something in this movie. Because Crash did win, right? So we have to pick a winner, I guess. And Hustle and Flow, I guess, didn't get nominated. But we're just assuming our remake Big Glow, is going to get nominated as well, too. Whoop that trick, chat. Whoop that trick. Get him. Whoop that trick. So, yeah, Crash actually won. So we have to pair it with Crash. Also, $1 Million Baby the year before, and Lord of the Rings. So Hustle and Flow with cast of the Lord of the Rings. I guess Viggo Mortensen doesn't have to necessarily be dressed up the same way, or Ian McKellen, but just the vibe of that, just hearing that does sound a little strange. So yeah, Oppenheimer, Everything Everywhere All at Once. That cast might be too good for this movie. Coda, shout out to Coda, or Nomadland, I guess, are our options. So shout out. Do we need to see? No, I like. Do we need to? I was gonna say, do we need to see more Memphis rappers? What other Memphis rappers do we have? Let's see what it gives us for other options here real quick. Yeah, obviously Glorilla. Big Scar. Oh, R.I.P. Shout out, chat. Signed to Gucci's label 2017. Oh, passed back in 2022. Oh, man. R.I.P. chat. Shout out. Big 30. Close to Pooh Shiesty. Duke Deuce brings back 3-6 Mafia style aggression, or Pooh Shiesty himself, currently incarcerated. Might be. Is he still? ChatGPT is a little behind. So, I don't know. Is he still currently? But who knows? Or NLE. So, yeah, it might be NLE at this point. Moneybag Yo as Key Glock. Ooh. I mean, I feel like NLE would be fun for the movie, but Key Glock would be. We might have to get Key Glock on the soundtrack or just in the movie as well, too. So, yeah, NLE was a good call, chat. Shout out to the Memphis scene. It's going strong. But if we're going to sell some tickets at the box office, we may need NLE in this for his notoriety. Or the Memphis Rap Cinematic Universe, the new MCU. Oh, chat, whoa, we're really unlocking something now. The new MCU built around Glorilla and NLE Choppa. The Memphis Rap Cinematic Universe. But before we take off, because I guess the movie just is about to hit end credits here. So let's get this real quick, and then we'll get out of here, because we've already spent too much time on Hustle and Flow as it is. But now we're too far down the road for this Glorilla movie. This opportunity has to be cashed in on. So we want the recipe is we got Glorilla plus NLE Choppa. Whoa, okay, we gotta spell it right. There we go. Well, not 2 A's. Wait a second. How do you spell Choppa, chat? Oh man, I'm not cool. And Glorilla plus NLE Choppa plus the cast of Oppenheimer. I guess I also don't know how to spell Oppenheimer. I before E. Grammarly, did we get it right? I think we did. Okay, this is the recipe, chat. Let's see what we get. Oh, we should also put Singleton in there. But Project Trinity? Okay. I don't know. This is a Fight Club Project Mayhem type. They thought they were building a bomb. She knew. Oh, because of the Oppenheimer influence. Hey, yo, I just wanted to cast. Okay, I guess we're getting storyline influence as well, too. Think ATL times Oppenheimer times Southland Tales times Juice times Get Out. Whoa, chat. This is insanity. I don't know if this is going to be good. We might have cooked up something. We might have to go back to the drawing board and see what we cook up tomorrow. But sweltering heat, political corruption, internet surveillance. The city's underground music scene is pushing frequencies, are literally rapping people's behavior. The government takes notice. You know, I said, should this be the teaser, chat? I hate to do this. Pause. Whoa, hey, yo. But I feel like producer brain says this might be a good idea, because we will be here tomorrow reacting to the new Tyler Creator album, which drops in a couple hours. Make no mistake, chat. He's got us up early in the morning seeing what's going on, but you know, we gotta get to work, and I guess see what happens after that. So when we get off work tomorrow, we'll be sitting here live. We will unveil, because I guess I'm not even looking at. I'll do my best not to peek, chat. Ayo, pause. We'll unveil the title and recook up a new title, Project Trinity. But this is gonna be crazy. We just again wanted to see what Downey and Cillian Murphy and Matt Damon would look, and Emily Blunt, I guess, too, would look like in this movie. Florence Pugh in this movie. Hey, yo, chat. It was Christopher Nolan movies, a little more diverse. We're going to have to redo this cast a little bit. But, yeah, we'll see. Chat, stay tuned tomorrow. We'll be here reacting to Tyler and unveiling the plot for our new movie with Glorilla. It is what it is. Stay tuned. So, yeah, we'll be here on the YouTube tomorrow. Stay tuned, chat. Coming up next. Hey, yo. IT's proud of us right now for teasing this out. Pause. But yeah, stay tuned. We'll be back. You can find the live streams up on the podcast feeds as well too. They do hit the Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those different stuff a little bit later. So you can find it there. Of course, find them on YouTube, and you can message us at RemingTonM on Instagram if you want to shoot us a DM over there as well too, and give us options. Tell us who else you want to see cast in this movie as well. Future, we just did DS2 the other night. If you want to go back and listen to that live stream, like I said, it's on the Apple and the Spotify's as well as, of course, in the YouTube archives. So maybe we work Future into this movie as well. But we'll be like we'll sleep on it. Hey yo. We'll sleep on it, and we will be back tomorrow reacting to the Tyler Creator and this movie and more. We will see what happens. So stay tuned, chat. We'll be back. Peace.